Merrick, the third race out of 10 race series, and I'd like to be able to start off with the ACC, your overall winner, 155 points. She's currently riding for Miami Knights. Please welcome.
All right, we're here at Tulsa Tough 2023. How's the weather treating you?
It's spicy.
This is the number one thing. This is our number one goal, and we build up to this event.
We're here Friday night at Blue Dome.
Can't see me.
We come in really motivated for Tulsa. We have these special jerseys, so I think we stand out even a little bit more.
We have a few key events this year where we'll be hosting rides and Q&As. Feeling pretty good. Excited to race Tulsa.
And do they have any idea what they're getting themselves into here at St. Francis Tulsa Tough?
We tried to warn them. I mean, I think they just have to experience it.
Good evening and welcome to St. Francis Tulsa Tough. Tonight is Friday night and it is Blue Dome here in downtown Tulsa. I'm Gabe Lloyd. I'm joined by Daniel Holloway, multiple-time winner of these races. Daniel, it is a hot, spicy night here in downtown Tulsa. The energy is hot. Tell us a little bit about what it means to race in front of these crowds.
Yeah, we just got done with the Cat 1 race, and the energy is just building and building and building. And, you know, it's really hot out here, but we got some clouds coming in. Touch and go with weather, maybe, you know, just keep it closed, kind of ward that off. But as the temperature is going to drop a little bit, it's going to give women perfect temperature to, like, really race.
Tonight is the first night we have our American Crit Cup standings, and we're going to bring those standings to you guys right now. This is our women's professional race, American Crit Cup standings. Leading off with 155 points is Andrea Sear from Miami Knights. In second, with a big gap, Alexis Ryan with 100 points for Legion of Los Angeles. And we have Lisa Salazar, also known as Yareli Salazar, with 100 points as well. Daniel, do you think those points are going to get tighter tonight?
Of course, and Andrea's got herself in a pickle. She's got a big gap, but she's got three of the same teammates behind her. That's three cards they can play, you know, and put the Miami Knights on the back foot. You know, who are they going to chase? Who are they going to look for? So it's going to be really dynamic racing.
The dynamic racing will continue throughout the night because this course is amazing. It is really hard. We made a few subtle changes, I think, this year, where we have 8 turns as we roll through. But Daniel, the biggest change, I think, for you, a little bit more extension of the course.
Yeah, down between 3 and 4, 5, 6, they added a block to the race. So that backstretch is significantly longer than it was previous years. So during the lead out, previously you were kind of able to pedal coast, pedal coast, pedal coast to get to the final backstretch. Now you don't have that respite in a very key spot of the lead out. So if teams haven't focused on that, put it towards a really solid plan, we might see some people caught out.
We're going to go back to our call-ups here right now. We're going to get this racing underway here tonight in front of the very excited crowd here in downtown Tulsa, Oklahoma. Again, this is Blue Dome, the McNelly's Group Blue Dome race, the very first night of our racing here in downtown Oklahoma. Daniel, talk to us a little bit about how important these starts are for these races.
Yeah, and a course like this is Friday night, like we said, the energy is pumped up. Being on front row just has a little bit more relaxation. You get to go through the first few corners uninterrupted. You get to kind of breathe, see the course at speed for the first time, and not be jostling for position. You can take that 1 or 2 laps, be there, and then start, you know, some of the sprinters float back 20, 30 wheels, get comfortable. You know, it is a smaller women's field, so 30 might be a little too far back, but you can go back 15, 20 wheels, get comfortable, start reading the race and making decisions.
All right, looks like our call-ups are beginning here, and it looks like Skylar Schneider from Legion of Los Angeles is here, and she is going to be our number 1 rider here. She was our winner here previously, I believe, last season, so welcome back, Skylar, to the race. Looks like we are all queued up, in fact, and ready to go. This is going to be the beginning of our Friday night racing here in downtown Tulsa, Oklahoma. Racing is about to kick off, Daniel. What are the nerves like? What is it like to be on the start line here in Tulsa?
Yeah, this is the race that always gave me butterflies, and that's, you know, no matter how many times you've done it, no matter what level you've been at, you get butterflies at Tulsa Tough.
Yeah, the top 10 call-ups tonight, just in case we didn't see them, it was Andrea Sear, Alexis Ryan, Yareli Salazar, Kimberly Lucy, Erica Zavetta, Alexi Ramirez, Olivia Cummins, Kendall Ryan, Sam Schneider, and Skylar Schneider. Daniel, we are now underway. We are racing here in downtown Oklahoma, and here they come right by us. What is the energy going to be, and more importantly, what do you think team tactics will be as we watch these first few laps unfold?
Yeah, I think everybody's going to take the first few laps to fill each other out. You know, some teams, they want to play their car early. We're going to see it in the first couple laps. If we're going to look for a team that wants to play late, we're just going to see them very passive, only chase the important stuff and look to just stay in the draft and save energy.
Yeah, I think that we also heard a lot of discussion throughout the field last night at the Thursday night group ride with the pros. It was a great opportunity for us to get to meet and greet some of the riders and discuss what the strategies will be. And a lot of eyes are on Legion right now with those new bright blue kits. Everybody views them as the team to watch and beat. Their strategy thus far throughout the season, what has that been like?
Yeah, I don't think they've had the season opener. We're accustomed to seeing them just dominating from season opener until this point. You know, they've got beaten at Joe Martin, they've gotten beaten at Redlands, they've gotten beaten at Air Force, you know, and we were informed that they didn't have their full team there, all 6, you know, of their riders. So this is going to be their first race of the season with all 6, you know, ready to go. So if teams don't put that in their checklist to say, hey, they have 6 now, they may, you know, find themselves in a pickle. But if so we're going to see how they do. And now that, you know, we see them lined up at the front and just kind of they're setting the tone.
And some of the teams that were beating them earlier on DNA came to the front and had some very successful rides. Denver Disruptors also had some very successful rides there throughout the time. So we're going to be looking to see if those teams can continue to ride really well as we have Legion setting the tempo at the front for this opening lap of the night.
Yeah, I think they're just riding the front, you know, getting themselves together, feeling the course out. And, you know, when they ride like this, it's kind of telling the other teams, it's, you know, it's in your court. We're lined up. This is what we're going to do. Now what's your move? And so, you know, at the current pace, you know, Legion could be here comfortably kind of all night. Now it's the other teams to start testing the Legion train, see how they're going to react to 1-person, 3-person, 5-person moves. So I think we're going to just see some slow chess right now playing.
A little bit of wind and weather. We'll get into, I mean, it's about 90-some degrees here in Tulsa. Not the hottest Tulsa Tough that we've ever experienced here, but we do have a little bit of breeze occurring. And with the architecture on the downtown circuit, how does that sort of affect the early dynamics of this field?
Yeah, so we're going to have headwind home stretch, tailwind between 3 and 4, and then headwind or tailwinds going into the final. So that helps the lead out. You know, keep the pace high, hard to come around, but you also be really mindful you can't start your sprint too early in a headwind.
Looks like a high of 93 today. So, you know, we've seen much hotter temperatures in the past. In fact, we have seen some of these riders end up over at with heat exhaustion in the fact. And so that will not happen this year. It's relatively mild temperatures here in Tulsa this evening. Kendall Ryan now coming to the front for the field. We're keeping an eye on the rest of the field, though, as well, as we look to see those pink jerseys of DNA Pro Cycling come to the front. And I expect that we'll see the Denver Disruptors also moving themselves up towards the front to try to shake things up. I see some Austin Aviator jerseys also in the mix.
Yeah, and as this race progresses, we're just going to see, you know, the temperature's going to cool off. The riders are going to feel that. And, you know, hopefully they just kind of get going. But we can definitely see that everybody's kind of taking their time to feel each other out before we see some aggressive racing.
Ureli Salazar on the front right now. She is the 2021 Mexican Road Race National Champion. She also won most recently at the Sunny King Criterium, becoming the Queen of the Night, in fact, down there. So Ureli, a very talented rider. She's also represented Mexico in the Olympics on the velodrome. She's won herself some medals at World Cups as well. So very talented, explosive sprinter, the Ureli Salazar. But we believe that Legion is probably going to be riding for Kendall or Skylar again this evening.
That's the easy assumption to make, that Kendall wearing the Stars and Stripes is their go-to, and Skylar is right there alongside. But all the girls are really, really dangerous. You know, you're not going to want to let Sam Schneider up the road with 1 or 2 girls or even by herself. She could easily, you know, ride away solo if you're trying to bluff them out. this particular squad of Legion is very deep and very versatile in what they can do. So, the rest of the field is really going to have to start testing this Legion train and tactic if they're going to expect a different outcome than, this pace and then a really fast lead out towards the end.
We'll be waiting to see when some of these teams are also going to start to come to the front. I mean, this is another American Criterium Cup event where points will be on the line. We're going to have an intermediate sprint at some point coming up and around, and that intermediate sprint, I think, will start to play some factors here. I'm not sure if Legion of Los Angeles necessarily super focused on those American Criterium Cup points as much as the other teams are in this race.
Yeah, typically, Legion has always taken kind of a bigger picture when they go to race tactics. It's not very much in the moment thinking about, hey, we need this 5 points and this 5 points, this 5 points. They think, long, big picture race tactics to kind of just execute the greater plan, and, more often than not, it kind of falls into their overall plan of success.
Really looking forward to what our strategy plays out. Now, Legion has been showing nice rotation at the front. This is the second time we've seen Skylar come around to the front and start to set tempo. Sam has not necessarily done a lot. Here she comes, though. And look at this. We maybe see Emily Flynn of LA Sweat coming up and around. Emily's role for LA Sweat a little bit different than some of the other riders. Emily's role is team captain. She was second at Tour of Somerville just a few weeks ago, but now we see DNA coming up to the front. Who do we think this is? Could be Rachel, potentially.
Yeah, it's hard to tell at this point.
It does look like Rachel Langdon's style there. A little bit of elbows out, a little bit of aggressive style, head tucked down. That's generally some of her style, but we will get some confirmation there once we get those race numbers.
And this is where the other teams have to be very mindful. It's one rider up the road, and if Legion, is the 800-pound gorilla, let them do the work. Don't do these small chases for them. Force them to expend the effort, and when it's back together, use that effort to throw a counterattack.
That is Rachel Langdon right now off the front. Rachel always traditionally very aggressive. Now we see Yareli Salazar from the field actually jump out, and looks like she is viewing, because we didn't see that with the foreshortening of the lens there on the back straight. We didn't see what the gap became for Rachel, but it looked like it was significant enough. Yareli's reaction to it. Now we have this nice drone shot to show us what that gap became. And you see at the back of the field here, Daniel, a little bit, no real panic from what I can tell.
Yeah, the pace isn't fully extended. Riders are 2-3 wide, but we can feel it's starting to get stretched out there.
And it looks like we're all back together. Yareli's effort. I thought that would be the sort of the role of our ride. Looks like the green jersey for the sprint leader for the ACC is coming to the front as well. That would be Kimberly Lucy, I believe, for DNA this season. And Rachel Langdon right on the wheel. And now it looks like we got some of the Miami Knights infiltrating into the front of the mix. But Legion not really looking panicked. InstaFund also getting themselves onto the front. We're around 4 wide as we come through turn number 2, or
yep.
Excuse me, 3.
Big acceleration, very fast, lap and a half, and this is the, counteraction of that really injection of pace. To slow down, it swells up, and there's a shuffling. So, the riders that want to stay towards the front, they have to be very mindful of that swarm and get ahead of that, so they don't get swarmed and caught out.
Anna Hicks here from one of our local riders with the Synestia cycling program. She's out of Indiana. She's now in the pit. Riders again are allowed to take a free lap in the pit. They are getting some surfer service, looks like from one of their team directors, in fact, at this point.
She's doing a good job staying calm there, but she, in this weather, having a sip of water, it's very, very heads up to just pass the bike off, let that person handle it. Don't get involved, get your composure. It's very stressful to have a mechanical in that moment. But have a sip of water, take a deep breath, and when the bike's ready, the mechanic's going to pass it back off so you can get back in the race.
Field looking very comfortable at the moment. Very, not necessarily complacent, but riders are definitely having sort of sussing out the first 10 minutes of our race program here. Really loving these drone shots, but now we're at the front looking at this. Looking at a nice aggressive move here by our riders, and I believe that might have been some type of cream or some sort.
Or the start-finish is a good place to launch an attack. It's uphill. If you go at it with momentum from a few wheels back and carry that over to people in the front, it's a very good spot to get a gap. And Skylar knows that all too much with the amount of laps she's put in here on this race course.
As we see here, actually, as the riders come by us, there is a small group off the back of this field. So the acceleration there by Skylar, not only drawing out some of the riders at the front of the field, but also splitting some riders off the back, looking like we have ourselves 4 riders. They're going to be some of our key players. Holly Breck of DNA getting herself there in second wheel. It looks like Andrea may potentially be teen and Yoreli Salazar.
2 Legion riders, Holly Breck, and I believe Miami Knights rider here. So
Andrea Bettine, I believe, if I can identify her, and Yoreli. So 2 Legions, as we just said.
Yeah, so this is a situation where 2 Region riders, DNA and Miami Knights are not, are just going to rotate through. They don't need to inject a ton of pace, with these odds. So Holly Breck just kind of needs to go keep the pace up and be communicating, hey, send some help, send some help. Keep that gap, but ask for a teammate to come up there and better their odds there. And now we can see DNA just at the front, kind of controlling the pace. Daphne's there, keeping check on everything.
Looks like DNA coming to the front, and they maybe don't like the makeup of that move, even with one of their teammates, Holly Breck, into the split there. So DNA patrolling the front, trying to do what they can. And I'm hearing some ACC points, Daniel.
Yeah, so this could be dynamic. See who from the peloton is going to be interested in these, or just the 4 up the road don't matter that much, and they're just going to absorb them. So we're going to see it play over this lap.
There's your group of 4 as they come by us. Bettine, Salazar, Breck, and there it is, actually Stephanie Holomak of the United Racing Program coming through. Stephanie Holomak winning at the Easton Twilight Crit a few weeks ago with a very explosive sprint. She has a lot of potential. She's been guest riding for a number of teams this season. That is the rider with the pink shoulders bringing this all back together. Unfortunately, she may be bringing a lot of sprinters with her to the line.
Yeah, you've got to be very mindful of these small efforts, because in this temperature, just those 5-6 second efforts can add up over the race of an hour. And so as a sprinter, you think, oh, this is not too hard, and this is not too hard. When come the last 2 laps, all of a sudden you need that big explosive power. It's not there. You have to have some reflection on why it may not be. So you got to be really mindful. Even as the sun's going way behind some clouds, the temperature's still up, and
That's
all
right.
those things can be, depleting.
Yeah, it can be a little tricky sometimes with the race dynamics. Sometimes where there have been a few accelerations off the front, but so a lot of riders feel like they have the potential to maybe do something here, and unfortunately they may be burning their own matches before we actually get to the finish where it actually counts.
Very much so. Yeah, when it's hot, it's almost a 2 to 1. One effort is basically 2 in normal conditions.
Let's see what the field is. Little nice pear shape here as we have a few riders. Still looks like the dynamic at the back is such that there's really no panic. You see some of the LA Sweat riders back there, which means that they are going to be riding really well. And looking at the front, we have DNA one more time, mixing in with some Legion of Los Angeles. So DNA and Legion seem to be the 2 teams that are really being the animators this evening.
Yeah, they're very much probably the 2 teams that have ridden the most together as units, most amount of race days. Miami Knights, Denver Disruptors are new teams, right? New mix-up, composition of riders. So even though it's June, they've had race days, there's so much subtlety to figure out. So we can really see that DNA and Legion have the most experience together as teams to have plans and start to execute. So we're going to see them together, a lot in the race, be in the same place at the same time.
Kimberly Lucy, Olivia Cummings, and one of our riders for the Butcher Box, Mackenzie Alt, up and near the front right now, and behind them we'll have the Legion of Los Angeles racers. And again, we're all back together. So this is sort of what was forecast for the dynamic when we were talking to the riders at the Ride with the Pros event last night, whereby Legion wants to keep a field sprint. Legion wants this to come down to, they just want to burn laps. They're going to be content to let other people take some flyers and set some tempo, because all they're doing is whittling it down for them to get to the finishing kick.
I don't necessarily think that Legion wants a field sprint.
Oh.
They're okay with a field sprint. If that's how the peloton wants to race, so be it. If the other teams want to be aggressive, Legion will match that and make decisions on the course on how much they put in or don't put in to that scenario. So if everybody kind of wants to be complacent, not race super aggressive, Legion puts go, okay, fine, you guys, we're totally okay with that. You know, they don't need to force it in that direction by any means, but you know, they'll match anybody that wants to be aggressive. So in my opinion, right now with the other teams not being that aggressive, you're just slowly ticking the cards, you know, into, you know, Legion's bread and butter.
Okay. Well, that was Taylor Cook-White. She's a rider for Miami Knights, a very accomplished athlete who has raced professionally on the road and on cyclocross as well. Now we see Daphne Karagianis for DNA coming to the front. Daphne, 7th-year pro, former Midwest Road champion, 2nd year for the DNA cycling. Now she's an all-arounder. Her role in this point in the race, I think, is to just try to accelerate, maybe see who's going to suss it out, but I'm seeing a little bit of casual counters.
Yeah, the counterattacks need to be more proactive and much more quicker than waiting for Daphne to get third wheel and then counterattack. You almost have to be like, if she's within 2 bike lengths, that's when you start your counter movement. It's got to be, her teammates have to be right there to make the decision, or you're really hoping that the other teams are seeing that tactic start to play out and encourage, hey, you know, it's not allowed, but we can be 18 versus 6. You know, if we all kind of build on this common ground that we'd like a move to go up the road and force Legion to expend more energy than just kind of be in the float wheels or pick the pace they want to ride.
Claire Windsor there on the front at the moment. An interesting opportunity for her to get a little bit of air time and just set the tempo. And now looks like a CCV rider. Generally, that program is based out of New England, so great to see them making the trip out here to Tulsa this evening and now putting themselves on the front. Catherine Rush has been great so far throughout this season, where she has been at the front many times. She has sprinted to a number of wins in her own right up in New England. Now let's see what she can do here tonight with this very stacked field. Nice single file drone shot here, Daniel. Maybe seeing more evidence of the speed that is being brought to the front. Now Denver Disruptor is coming up on the outside of the screen with that distinctive maple leaf of Leia Kirkman.
Yeah, I think you know, she's been in Europe for the last few years, moves back to America, gets stuck into the grids. She's not unfamiliar. She spent time doing these with the mixed road schedule in North America before, but she has been, you know, in Europe the last few years. So I bet she's had some adaptation to come back, get used to the rhythm. Kind of, you know, as an ever pro, she's familiar with the riders, you know, in a sense, but getting to race with them, start looking at the cues, tells on what riders are going to do. I think she's probably still figuring that out.
Potentially. I mean, also, we haven't seen her race on TV too much. We watched her in Miami at the NCL event down there, which is a super different race format. You know, now we're back to intermediate sprints more occasionally. Where she really shone in Miami was her ability to just ride really hard consistently, right? So she'd be at the front in Miami, get some sprint points, and then just stay on the gas, and very few were able to hold on. This race dynamic, completely different. We're back to what we would consider our traditional racing format, and you know, maybe she's sort of sussing out what is the potential. She put herself safely up near the front. That's a place where she can sort of control the tempo as she comes around. But now we see other NCL riders for the Miami Knights coming around, and we have a lot of sort of sustaining at the front.
Yeah, and so, you know, as you mentioned, the NCL format's quite different than this one, but as that showed, if you start racing hard from the beginning, it really starts to wear on the field much sooner than kind of this, you know, one attack every couple of laps. But this is a pretty established gap we have for the first time from a Miami Knights rider.
Andrea Butine, I believe, will be coming out. That's another distinctive ride style for her, and it looks like Emily Flynn from LA Sweat chasing from behind. Again, Emily's role as road captain tonight is to keep an eye on everybody, trying to get themselves a sprinter. Mariana Velada unable to join us here in Tulsa with some medical issues, but Andrea Butine now from Miami Knights off the front. Now let's see who she draws out in addition to, or if the rest of the field will just work it out. But Butine now off the front. We're 19 and a half minutes into our bike race. Not quite halfway, I believe. We have a little bit more bike racing to go. Taking a look at the field, looks like Emily Flynn and Leah Kirkman are at the front, just trying to bring this back. Nice ride here by Butine, Daniel. So we're about a third of the way into the event, and Butine now sort of attacking, getting a, let's call it an 8 to 10 second gap. We can count it out here. Do you think that this is going to draw people out, or do you think Butine is just sort of burning her own matches here?
I think she's hoping to draw a few riders out, get together, but it may be her role. It doesn't matter if she's burning matches, right? She's injecting pace, establishing a gap, and now her teammates can sit back and watch the wheels, read the race, saying, hey, at this point, who's chasing, who's trying to get in the breakaway, who's indifferent about this. So right now, she's just got to put her head down, find her rhythm, find her tempo, and let riders come up. And here we see Salazar making that bridge effort.
Yeah, Salazar bridging across. This is her job in the team, right? So an Olympian on Legion of Los Angeles, her role is to make sure that they are always present in any move that goes up the road. Andrea Sear is probably the protected rider for Miami, but look at this. So we got Andrea Sear, and look at that. DNA coming up and over the top, taking the outside line there. They're looking to take the race to the rest of the field. That's Harriet.
Yeah, that's really, I really like this move. Again, like we were saying earlier, win the counterattack, and she made the move before they even thought the Miami Knights rider. And you know, she was using the speed of the field, making that chase to her advantage to launch that counterattack. That's exactly how you want to do it. Now the gap's opening up. We got instant front. I think they made the move there, and they've got a rider placed towards the front, monitoring that gap. Now people just need to ride.
Yeah, look at the heads on the swivels right now. They are looking at each other. They're sussing out, is this going to stick? Now, Urelli on the right, and it looks like on the left is Alexis Ryan. Those two don't necessarily want it to succeed, and so that disruption in the rotation, even though they had the collaborative horsepower, Legion clearly showing they did not want that to succeed. Meanwhile, we are now seeing that Knights and Denver Disruptors, our two NCL teams, and DNA Pro Cycling want something to go. And here we see another counterattack by Miami Knights that kind of looks like Taylor from this far away, but look who's on her wheel. I think that's Skylar.
Yeah, really good. You know, really good heads up. She's kind of, Skylar for sure saw that coming 2 laps before. You know, that's just how much experience. Holly Breck, same thing. Even though she's on the opposite side of the peloton, just had that feeling, you know, that something is going to happen, head on a swivel, you know, and she's on the left side, can look over to the right and say, oh, something moving, it's my time to go, and be right there.
Yeah, but Taylor Crookwhite was that rider, and Skylar Steiner. Most notably, not Skylar, excuse me, is our most recent Pan Am champion in the road race. So congratulations to her on her road to trying to qualify for Paris. She's set herself up well for that, to become an Olympian. So nice to see her here racing with us tonight for Legion in their distinctive blue kits this evening. Another new iteration of their Rafa kits where they're paying an homage to both Justin and Corey's high school in Compton. Those are their high school colors, and tonight this whole weekend they are racing as a nod to their school that they grew up in. As we come through, looking at 23.5 minutes or so to go, and on the front we see Daphne Caraganas one more time, looking over the shoulder, trying to make an assessment of what these efforts are going to mean and if they will be beneficial for her or not.
Kind of see this calm reset.
And as we see, Caraganas a little sip of the water there by Skylar. She comes around, and the DNA starting to line themselves up behind as we see the rest of the race here sort of taking not necessarily a pause, but the riders now talking on their radios as they come around, and we'll see what the next counter will be.
Yeah, and sometimes, you know, on the radios they're talking to their other teammates that are dispersed through the field, or they're getting feedback from their team directors from the side. You know, the team directors can be, you know, watching this live stream or have a different perspective to communicate to the riders on and make decisions.
And there we go. We have our riders coming through and trying to get a sense of what's happening up there on the front, as we see a few riders now on the left side of the group trying to make their way around. And LA Sweat now trying to move themselves up from midfield up over to the front. So we have ourselves a nice drone shot here with about 24, almost 25 minutes of racing elapsed time coming through.
I really love this perspective of this over the top from behind field to show the pace.
Our lead motor coming through at this time as we now see our field. A preem on the next lap. Frankie Andreu on the stage. We can hear him in our booth saying preem on the next lap, seeing if that'll shake up the moves here. Harriet Owen on the front with three of her DNA riders on her wheel, including a sprint leader, Kimberly Lucy, in the green jersey.
Yeah, it's a really good opportunity to take this, this sprint. Somebody's going to sprint for the money, and then use that opportunity to make a counterattack. And this is the perfect example. LA Sweat rider Monica in third wheel. She has a leash on her head unit. I don't know if you can see it dangling, but it's popped off. But she's got a leash, so she's still getting her data.
A good thing that she got that leash on there. Otherwise, somebody would have gotten themselves a new Wahoo for their spectating time. So we have, I believe, Harriet on the front. This is strange to me. So Harriet is traditionally known as a sprinter, but they are clearly riding for Lucy if Harriet's on the front during a sprint lap. And we're seeing DNA continue to rotate. Rachel Langdon also in there. It looks like Ashley from LA Sweat potentially putting herself up into the rotation. Or excuse me, maybe Monica putting herself into the, that is Monica Merced putting herself into the rotation for LA Sweat as well.
It doesn't surprise me to see Harriet, at this pace come to the front. She could either be placing herself, she might have found herself in a bit of a mess or uncomfortable position. The only way to get out of that is head to the front, take 5, 6, 10 pedal strokes at the front. Or, if she's just, for her fitness, like, hey, this might be too easy. Sometimes me as a sprinter just didn't like floating all the time and wanted some tension in the legs. So she could just be going to the front, putting some tension in her legs to make sure that it's still activated, for the finish of the race or when it might get really hard.
Well, we're seeing a little bit of a counterattack. I assume that this is going to be trying to get some preem. We believe that there's money on the line here. We don't think it's ACC points. It's going to be preem, and it will be a Denver Disruptor, I believe, taking that first preem. And that will be rider Leah Kirkman.
Yeah, and she, saw the opportunity really good, really large established gap. It already looks to 10 seconds. We've got one of almost every team there. A Legion rider's just coming up. Regardless if this Legion rider sits on, these three riders just need to rotate, establish the gap, and then devise a strategy, on how to shake her.
We'll see what happens with the dynamic in the field right now as we will see the field sort of regroup a little bit. Although we are seeing a little bit of daylight between four riders and the rest of the field. I just don't see the collaboration working out, though. So we got a CCB rider, you got Leah Kirkman, you got Ureli Salazar, and I believe you got a Miami Knights. Chasing from behind is going to be most likely Daphne Caraganas, number 34 for our DNA Pro Cycling.
And we can start to see some body language, the fatigue, some fatigue is setting in. Top 10 riders are strung out. There's a small gap. The pressure, see Leah's looking back. She's got to make a decision on keep the pace up, and give herself the opportunity to establish a breakaway where she can, start to race into her favor, or keep it hard enough, wear out the other team so one of her teammates can counterattack when this comes back.
A little bit of a split here as we are seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 riders right now with a few bike lanes, but again, not enough of a gap to really make a difference or write home about at the moment. As we see, but those little gaps as they start to open up and yo-yo some other riders, that'll actually have more of an effect at the back of the field. So while the midfield or mid-front third of the field won't necessarily feel too much of those effects, the back of the race is going to start to really feel the efforts here if they don't move themselves into that draft. Meanwhile, at the front right now, we have ourselves DNA Pro Cycling. One more time, nice to see this nice aggressive tactic here. They're clearly trying to disrupt any type of tactic or preset determination. A nice counter move here by Denver Disruptors on the road left of our screen as they come out. So we'll see again one more time 3 riders separating themselves. Samantha Schneider getting herself into that mix.
That's Holly Breck.
Holly Breck
putting on the pace.
Looks like one of our riders from the back of the race now getting themselves lapped out as Andrea Butine is the other rider putting themselves in the mix. And here's Denver Disruptors now making the catch and now countering immediately as they start to accelerate. This draws out Alexis Ryan, I believe, from the field. Those Denver Disruptors starting to pull out some of the key players from Legion of Los Angeles who thus far have stayed relatively hidden. Julian Aguila from Mexico also now up into the rotation. We haven't seen Julian yet this evening. Now we are in the second half of our race, and so we may see new Legion of Los Angeles riders starting to patrol, thereby showing us that, so Legion set up at the beginning of the night with Skylar and Yareli sort of patrolling at the front. Now we're in the second half of the race. Do you think that those riders are going to sort of sit back a little bit, potentially waiting for these laps to count down and get themselves to the finish?
Yeah, teams definitely set up that strategy to say, hey, you two cover the first 15, 20 minutes, you two cover the middle third, and then we're going to regroup for the final bit, and make sure you spread the workload, across the team. It's a very wise, tactic to get everybody. But it seems like, Salazar is the one rider. Hey, you're going to cover everything, the whole race.
Yep. And
then at whatever time we start the lead out, she's probably going to be one of those early riders setting the tempo.
That's Taylor Cook White one more time, our rider. Originally from Philly, now living down in the Carolinas, but we still call her a hometown Philly girl. So Taylor Cook White, again, being nice and aggressive, looking over the shoulder. Rachel Langdon, clearly that rider that has made that split, and then Yareli Salazar now there one more time. So we now have a lot more daylight now. Rachel Langdon, their second wheel in the pink, she loves breakaways. I've seen her at a number of races in the past where she just drives breakaways. She sweeps up creams when she is going for it, and you see her flicking that elbow. She is motivated. She wants this to go, but only Taylor Cook White is going to work. Look at that, Yareli clearly just jumping onto the wheels. Yareli's job, sit this one down, bring it back.
Yeah, and she doesn't have to bring it back. She just has to ride the wheels. And if the other two riders say, hey, we don't like this, and sit up, it's perfect for you, Salazar. If they want to keep riding, she takes the free ride. That's super frustrating. Those other two riders have to think a little bit larger than just LA Legion and continue to ride and keep the gap established. So a Denver Disruptors has to chase. A Le Sweat has to race. The other teams have to do big efforts because they're also competing against them. It's not just you're racing one team. You have to, make efforts so other teams are also wearing themselves out.
Yeah, it looked like there was a little bit of a counter move there by Legion of Los Angeles themselves. Up the right side of the road, we'll try to look at, there's a blonde ponytail in there that could have been Skylar or Sam, but let's check it. It looks like Skylar to me with that gold chain dangling down. So, and it looks like she drew out Daphne. That's right. So Daphne and Skylar have now separated themselves, and we're looking at our rider from Sinistia Cycling, trying to bring that back.
It's really good to see one of these smaller teams start to show themselves. They had a rider earlier in the pit, kept calm. Another one of their riders we saw in a couple moves early. But now it's really great to see one of these smaller teams at the halfway point start to inject themselves, into the race when things are getting tired. And we can see 5 wheels back, green jersey, Kim Lucci. It's really deceptive on TV to see what these races are, how fast they are. But she's starting to kind of wear some of the fatigue, on her face. That, the pace in this, on-off pace in this race and these temperatures starting to wear on riders. And if Kim's showing it, you can best bet that a lot of the field is starting to feel the pace.
So Daniel, if you're in a race like this yourself, right, and you're seeing that the teams are proactively trying to, from my perspective, what I'm seeing as a rider of my experience, I'm seeing that the field is interested in keeping it together. We got a lot of very aggressive tactics, but there seems to be a Legion motivation to bring things back together. How do you race in that situation? Do you follow the suit here of Miami Knights and DNA and try to accelerate and create splits yourself, or are you going to float Legion in your experience?
No, I mean, when you're racing against such a well-oiled machine, you have to get them to race. You have to draw them out. And so you have to be aggressive. Just sitting around, following them around, isn't getting fatigue in their legs. You've got to find a way to get one or two of them isolated and make sure they're doing equal work, one for one. That's how you're really going to start to pick apart these teams and get fatigue going into the last 5 laps.
Okay. So Daniel, you and I had, you were such an accomplished rider. You have won this race, not in this direction, you always know. You always got the asterisk of that you didn't win in this direction. However, We got mid-race points on the line for ACC. Now, mid-race points on the line for ACC. Kimberly Lucy wearing that green jersey is on the front right now. A little too early for her to be sprinting for sprint points. So what do you think she's going to do? Is she going to try to drift back, or is she just going to let those ACC points go?
I mean, I think their tactic is, hey, the points, seem to be like if she's on the front this early, they're relatively indifferent about them. It's Kim, put the pace on. We want to use this opportunity as other riders might be sprinting for points to counterattack. So help that situation, help that speed ramp up into these points, and then, we're going to get somebody to counterattack that.
Okay. Denver Disruptors putting themselves up near the front one more time. So an interesting dynamic right now is Lucy trying to navigate staying up near the front, but finding herself there maybe a little bit too early. Maybe Denver Disruptors will be enough of an aerodynamic break for her. And as we see the rest of DNA now coming to the front and try to set her up, it's a very challenging situation to have Lucy up there so early. Maybe didn't expect the lap count. We'll try to get some lap count on us here as well, as we now are in the mid-race preem point. We have the laps 35 minutes, but we're going to try to get some laps to go here to show us where we're at in this race. Let's see what happens here, Daniel. We are now about halfway through this lap, and DNA very clearly trying to get Kimberly Lucy to the line first. That's
really heads-up riding by Kim. Even though she's not surrounded by her teammates, she knows that points are coming. I have to be at the front. And if she's in a position, she's got to trust that her teammates are going to get there for her, and they did show up for her. So they're really good. Out and out, it didn't look like perfection, but Kim knew her job got there. Her other teammates knew their job got there, and now they're helping her out.
That's great to see. So we'll see if the team dynamic will get them some success here as they're coming through these turns, as we get themselves up to the finishing kick, out of the saddle. As we go, we're kicking up to the line, and it will be Lucy getting those points for the American Crit Cup.
And she had her teammates second and third to also absorb stuff, help keep that gap growing, and keep it from other teams.
And we saw 18 laps to go there on the start-finish truss, so 18 laps remaining here in the competition tonight. So we're clearly at the halfway point. It has been bell rung, points awarded, everything else. What's going to happen now here in the second half of this race? Kimberly Lucy trying to get herself away. Checking the shoulder there is Skylar Schneider. Look at this. Skylar goes right through.
Yeah, this is really good. I mean, they had one goal, let's get sprint points. And now Kim has switched, mindsets. I've got my points. Now I'm all in, set up the race, make it hard, get other teams to chase. And now look what they put in their favor. They got Skylar Schneider, 2 DNA riders, other teams chasing. So DNA is really starting to swing this race in their favor of getting these other teams to race hard and get some fatigue.
Yeah, it's nice to see Skylar really committing to this split here as she gets herself 2 DNA riders into the split, Holly Breck and Kimberly Lucy. Now, Lucy looking over the shoulder right now. Looks like she's got a little bit of a gap. And you see with a drone shot, Lucy going back to the field. But this Miami Night rider may have been Butine trying to bridge herself across to the split. So we may end up with 3 anyways, even though Kimberly Lucy has dropped herself off of this move on purpose.
But she's got her teammate up there, right? So It's kind of a 1-for-1. But she was part of the setup. She got her points, created the original gap for people to get to, her teammate to bridge to, get in the draft. And even if it's a half lap, it could be so much help in that situation. And now Kim gets back in the field, drafts, sits 5-10 wheels, starts watching the race and covers where she needs to.
Yes, then we're going to be now looking at 17 to go here for our race. 3 riders now away, a little bit of daylight between them. We could count it out, but it's going to not last very long as we got Denver Disruptors now coming to the front, very aggressively chasing that back. And the rest of the field, you can see this field dynamic where splits are starting to occur near the back third of the race. That really shows us the overall speed and tempo of what's happening out there. Sometimes it can be hard to tell just how hard these races are when we're just watching the front sort of washing machine effect occur. The back, meanwhile, you got a lot of riders really just suffering through this at this moment.
Yeah, and if you're in that back third, those last 10 wheels, and this pace, as we can see, has kind of gone off, they're still pedaling to catch up. And as soon as they catch up, an attack goes and it strings out. And so when you're at the back and you find yourself just kind of stuck there, you're always on the gas. Like you're not getting that middle to front third recovery portions. You're just always on the pedals, and then when that gap happens and you crack, you're just out. So when you're in that position, you just kind of have to stay calm, keep your head up, and really read the race. And when you see it float at the front, you can take that opportunity to kind of come off the pedals, float as well. Okay. And even though you may not be in the draft, or they may be 10 bike lengths, kind of rest when they rest, race when they rest. That way, when you do have that moment to get in the field, you're not blown out. You can take that opportunity to advance yourself 10, 15 positions, and slowly work your way out of that massive yo-yo effect, which you're just getting hammered by.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, that sounds great. Sometimes in practice, that can be a lot harder to actually execute. I mean, I've been guilty of that myself, where I found myself thinking that I'm pulling an Adam Meyerson at the back of the field and just floating, and pretty soon I find myself yo-yoing desperately, just trying to hang on. So you got to really understand when to read the race, as Daniel just said, and understand when is the right time to sort of pull yourself up into the mid-third and then eventually up into the front third of these races.
Yeah, and if you're back there, it's difficult, but if you start panicking, you start getting that anxiety, that's going to elevate your heart rate, and you're going to have those nerves. The biggest thing is mindset back there, and say, okay, look, I'm tired, this hurts, this is fatigue, but keeping a cool head. That way, when you're in a good position, you're not overwhelmed. You're kind of building that fruition, building that moment that it's like once you get up there and you get into position, you're mentally ready for it, not just being so stressed out that when you do get to that like midfield, you're not like panicked. You're like, oh my God, I'm here, what do I do? And you miss that moment of relaxation and holding your spot. You're too much in your own head, miss the acceleration, and you find yourself off the back in that yo-yo again.
Yeah, and sometimes when you're a rider, the important layer of becoming a front elite rider in these races versus having the physical fitness to be there is having that mental relaxation, right? When you get to that moment of zen in these races where you can actually look around, where you can watch what the other riders are doing, look at body language when you're actually at speed, then you're racing. Right?
Yeah, totally. That's when you're really participating in the race. And I mean, more often than not, I think everybody would agree with me that you rarely have your best legs. You always have some sort of hiccup, some sort of barrier that you're fighting against. And it's really excelling and having that head on your shoulders. That when you're having a bad day, you're making good decisions to help you get as far along into the race as possible, and then making the most out of it with whatever your legs have on that day.
Yeah, I really appreciate that statement, because I think a lot of times athletes will come into a race and say, oh, I don't have perfect legs today, so I'm not going to do much. And it's like, well, you know what? We're here to race bikes, so let's make the most of it. Sometimes you need to have the slowest fast race possible to get yourself to the finish line, but also a lot of these athletes have tremendous amounts of depth and fitness, and to try to tap into it in the best way possible for yourself in these scenarios, because you never know what's going to happen the next time around. You take every opportunity that's presented to you, especially when you're at a national level event like Tulsa Tough.
And I've been here more often than not with not my best legs, and it's just having that mindset of ignore the body, you're prepared, and just race the race you want to race, and be mindful of taking those moments to rest. And I've had maybe the best legs I've ever had at Tulsa, and not one, because I panicked. I didn't, I was in my own head. I was like, I can't be here with this good of legs. It's not possible. And I raced way too conservative, and it ended up, not doing well, that day. And it's one race I look back and go, man, if I would have just laid it out there, I could have surprised myself, and I could have gotten the result that I really wanted. So, this sport is so mental. It's so mind games. You have to trust your training, that the bulk of what you've done leading into this will get you the result and the performance you want, regardless of what that immediate physical feedback is on that day. It's hard to separate that.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes we are our own worst enemies out there. You don't need somebody attacking you left and right and center. Sometimes the guy between your ears can be the one taking you out of the race. And let's get back to some action here on the front. You got CCB putting themselves into the wind, checking the shoulders here, and then we're seeing the riders from Legion talking to each other. The sisters, Schneider sisters, discussing some stuff, some head nods back and forth. Julien also right there as well. Good DCC coming to us from Germany here this evening, taking a sip of the water bottle. Nice to see DCC making the trip over. That is Pia Pumer, number 25 in the middle there, starting to put herself up. 16 laps to go, Daniel, at this point in time. We're now into the final third of the race. From my experience, this is the time when the riders who maybe don't like their field sprint opportunity take a bit of a gamble.
Yeah, and this is where, if you're not a field sprinter, if you're a team that doesn't have that out-and-out sprinter, is you've got to commit. It's about 15 minutes, plus or minus. This is where you just have to go, this is what's left in the race. I'm all in. Like, you got to start laying your cards on and seeing what you can push into your favor. This is where you're going to see Legion, maybe Miami Knights really start to get together and start following 4, 5, 6 riders in a row, start getting in that flow state of going, this is where we're going to be on this lap. This is what corner, we want to be on the inside here, outside there, and start working themselves, into those positions.
Just noticed the rider fiddling with the race radio in the ear. Riders are racing with radios. This is a Pro 1-2 race, so riders are permitted to have radio communication both with each other in the field, but also with riders or their rider sportives, domestic sportives who are on the side of the field, feeding them information and also sort of coaching them along, saying go harder, go softer, whatever.
Yeah, and it's like, as a director, it's hard to, you don't necessarily know exactly how your riders are feeling. Again, it can, even on the side of the course, it can be hard to tell what the fatigue level is. So it's a delicate balance of being that person in the ear, giving them the right info they want to hear, being motivating, reminding those riders to eat, drink, take on calories, because even though it's an hour in weather like this, you can be depleted so fast if you don't take any water from the word go to now and you haven't drank, you're pretty much hosed. So a director's kind of doing all of these things, feeding them a lot of different information and trying to do it eloquently. We've had plenty, I know I have experienced, a variety of directors and styles, and there's some where in the first 5 minutes my earpiece is out, and I'm just, I tell one of my other teammates that can tolerate, hey, if any, whatever info, relay that to me. I can't, hear 3-second gap, 5-second gap. For me, that wasn't helpful.
Sure.
You really want to just, the information you're getting over the radio is short and exactly what you need, not extra fluff. Because you're in the heat of the moment. You're raised. A lot of things are on your mind, and you just want that extra voice to be, that perfect little angel feeding you, the right information at the right time at the right lane.
Holly Breck there on the front right now. One more time, I believe, trying to check the shoulder and see what's going on. I think that's Breck not coming. Yep, and Denver Disruptors also now up near the front. CCB being really pretty active. Look at that, Andrea Butin responding from the field to an Instafun and Ureli Salazar as they come around and give themselves a little bit of daylight. Butin very quick to respond. I think Miami Nights is racing for Andrea Sear tonight.
Yeah, what's really impressive is we've not mentioned her name until this point. Call-ups and Andrea's here now. And that's a big change from how she raced last year. She was ever present, always at the front, doing micro efforts. And now we've not seen her. I can't point, we haven't called her out. She's been in the wheels. She's probably got a teammate or two just shepherding around. If there's a gap open, it's not her business to close it. She's got somebody, right there for it. And, we saw her do a lot of work last year and just edging on the podiums, being close. So maybe, with her learning more patience, that we might see something different. But she's kind of midfield, right there behind Kim Lucci in the green jersey. She's
okay.
Andrea Sears, red jersey, white glasses.
Okay, yeah. Good eye there, Daniel. Yeah, so oftentimes it's the riders we never talk about who end up finding the most success. In fact, we're looking at the back here. We see Harriet Owen for DNA Pro Cycling just chilling at the back right now, looking very comfortable, trying to take as few pedal strokes as possible each lap to get herself around towards the finish.
Yeah, and a rider like Harriet, kind of these, they're just floating around the peloton. You can, as a sprinter, leave gaps and see, well, if I take this line and I do this on this corner, where does that put me? If I do this here, where does that put me? Because you never know if you just may end up isolated. You need to know how to navigate, by yourself through certain corners or through a field. So it's something I certainly used to do, is just test, certain lines, certain corners. That way, when the heat is on, you've kind of had, experience inside, middle, outside lane, at every corner.
I think, you're starting to talk about lanes and corners and whatnot. So at this point in the race, the athletes really should start to understand where their final sort of setups are going to be, right? Like which lines they want to hit. In your experience, so I know we've got a little bit more pedal strokes this year between some of the turns, but just set us up before we get into the final 10 here, Daniel, with where do you want to be and maybe at each of these turns? Inside line, outside line, or is it changing?
It changes a bit. I favored, being on the left side, the outside on the home stretch. And so that's outside corner 1, inside corner 2. outside, outside, but it sets you up to be inside in corner 6 going into 7-8. So through corner 6, you're on the inside. That's kind of a controlling position. So, you take some work, you take some extra distance early in the lap, but you're setting yourself up for the finale to go into the backstretch, inside and in a controlling position, ideally.
Okay. I love to see that. That was Amy Gamelgard from Fount Cycling Guild out of Oklahoma. So Amy Gamelgard, hopefully a local rider, getting herself on the front of her hometown big race here today in that green. According to our start sheet, she has no teammates. So hopefully she is she's getting herself some good airtime here, and Butcher Box now coming to the front. So Daniel, when you're talking about these race courses in that way, it just shows the analysis that goes into your approach to these races. And I think a lot of times riders don't necessarily even comprehend some of that. Sometimes they're really just looking at the hub in front of them as they go through each of these turns.
Yeah, totally. And so, it's putting trust in others that, they're making good decisions. And, over time, you learn to pick your head up from that hub in front of you to their front hub to the hub in front of them. It's, learn to just ride with your head up and let, there was for me, there was always this kind of 10 to 12 foot bubble that was in soft focus. I could see it move around me, but none of it was sharp. But I could see it move and float. But my focus and everything was sharp was 15, 20 feet ahead of me, or further, depending on how far back I was. So that's what you got to really learn to develop and trust, that you can kind of build out that soft focus bubble from just kind of the butt in front of you to more and more space.
Wow.
So you can start to see things develop.
Okay.
You can start to see, holes open. Imagine driving in moderate traffic on the freeway. If you've got your head up, you can kind of see where lanes are, things are opening, or, things slowing down. You might be able to get ahead of that slowdown. If you've seen it, 500 yards up the road, you can just change lanes and not have to brake. It's very similar in a bike race.
Very cool. I love to hear it. So we have Melanie Wong on the front of the race right now for Butcher Box. Butcher Box here tonight with Caitlin Agnew, Melanie Wong, Mackenzie Malt, Rachel Canning, and Christina Goki-Smith guest riding for them this evening. So we'll try to see what their plan will become here as we get into the final. Looks like 11 on the screen. Laps to go here. 10 laps now to go for our.
And we can see just over the right side of this banner on our screen, there was a flag. It's still windy. It's still headwind, down the home stretch.
Okay.
With an uphill. That's super tricky. Your timing has to be really good. And if, viewers now were watching the earlier race, the men's race, a rider had a very large gap. Going into the last lap, going into the last half lap, even though he had tailwind going into the final 2 corners and into the home stretch, with fatigue, he hit the home stretch with a headwind, slight uphill into a steeper uphill kick, and 12 seconds evaporated very, very fast.
Yeah, well, you and I took a good look at the start-finish shoot this morning, and pretty much when you come out of the final turn 8, it's about a 2%, 1 to 2% lift, and then you flatten out at the cross street, and then at 50 meters to go to the line, it kicks to about 3 to 4-ish%, and that is where that race really turned on its head. So the Cat 1-2 race coming down to the final 50 meters, even though you had a rider off the front with a 12-second advantage in that contest, we could see sprints changing quickly, even if we come down to a field sprint situation here tonight, just due to the headwind compounded by the increase in that final 50 meters of elevation.
Yeah, so when a team is doing a lead out, that's very, very much in the forefront of their mind going into 1 to go, that they have to be very detailed in their acceleration from the last corner to the first corner. They can't accelerate too early and give teams from behind that opportunity to swarm them as they get, just past the finish line, at the slowest part, of the course. They've got to keep the gas on, so it's ever difficult for people to come over the top from behind. A couple years ago, Summerhill and I timed it to perfection. We went over the top through corner 1 for a second, and Danny had great legs. I fell apart completely, full meltdown, and we came away with nothing. But our initial execution was perfect, but the rest of it was not. So the tricky part of that is they've added an extra block. 3 corner 3 is a block further than it's been, and between 4 and 5 is an extended block. So previous years, if you kind of got into corner 2, you could coast corner 2, 5, 6 pedal strokes into corner 3, have a really long float, 2, 3 pedal strokes into 4, float, basically get all the way to corner 6, not expended much energy, as a lead out rider.
Okay.
Now that that's extended, coming out of corner 2, you have a really long straightaway. There's no float. You got to come out of that and start accelerating all the way into 3. And then you do have that chance to float between 3 and 4, but coming out of 4, there's, you've got to, it's a long acceleration into 5, a little bit of respite into 6, but then another big acceleration into the final 2 corners. That's nothing these teams have experienced before on this particular course. So we're just going to see, those that are experienced can adapt, have really looked at this course, execute that, or we may see people get it wrong, and there might be, some really big changes on the last lap of these 2 extended back stretches.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is that even the experienced teams are racing a new course tonight. The timing is going to be different. The pedal stroke count is going to be different. The sprint lengths may be slightly shifted just as far as the effort that's going to go into actually getting themselves to that setup. Sounds like there's going to be a little bit of a preem. So we go listen to Frankie on the stage, so that preems here within single digits of the race are also going to affect the overall. Now DNA coming to the front with 4 riders. Much too early for a lead out. What are they thinking right now?
It's only a lead out if they start accelerating the pace. They could just be 4 riders getting to the front, riding their teammate, their tempo to organize. But if you've got 4 riders at the front, it's going to be a lot easier for Kim Lucci to just kind of pop around and catch a wheel. And then 2 can become 4, can become 6 really fast. So just because they're at the front doesn't mean they've increased the tempo, increased the pace to be, too far forward too early. It's about staying, you're at the front, it's close to finish, but it's keeping your composure and not doing too much too early.
Well, I stand corrected, actually. It's at 8 laps to go. There are sprint points for ACC on the line coming up on the set when they cross at 7 to go. And so for that reason, that is why DNA is now on the front. They are, in fact, doing a bit of a wind-up for Kimberly Lucy. She's wearing that green jersey. She's last wheel for them right now, but I think this is going to be an interesting preview for the final kick to the line with this team. So let's look at our order here. It looks like
Holly Breck
is
Rachel, Daphne,
okay, Liv Cumming, and then Lucy.
Kim Lucci, and then, Harriet Owen is not there. She's further back. But I'm sure that's just, they've communicated that, hey, Harriet may not say, I don't want to be at the back of the train that early. I'm going to float. You guys do their job. And this is where you just have that communication and trust. Okay. These girls are up there working. And if it's for Harriet, they have to trust that Harriet's going to do her job. And Harriet has to go, they're going to do their job. So we may not be seeing what, quote, is perfection of 6 riders in front at once. It could just be like, as a sprinter, you have your style, you have what you want. If you can communicate that and the team can execute that strategy, it almost sometimes doesn't matter what it looks like to us on the outside.
Here we come out of that final turn here. We'll see if that green jersey gets herself across the finish line here first to get herself maximum ACC points. We'll also see if any other DNA riders soak up the additional points behind. Lucy gets maximum points. DNA coming across there for second. Miami Knights, it looks like they, with Andrea Butine, getting 3rd points there in that intermediate sprint, but she is now driving here. She comes past us here in the booth as she dives onto the back 3rd of the course, so she's driving that pace. Foreshortening here of the lens doesn't quite show the string out, but you see the action there by Urelli of sipping from the bottle. Maybe that shows us what's happening here, but look at this, Daniel. Legion coming to the front, responding quickly to the efforts there by Miami Knights.
Yeah, and that was just like a 1-2, Butini at the front, and now her teammate counterattacking, and just love to hopefully see, for the next 5-6 laps, they just keep countering. Look, it's starting to really string out. If they were to keep this pace for the next 2, we could see some exciting racing and a dynamic we haven't necessarily seen before.
Yeah, I mean, now, so we're 7 laps to go now. Is this going to be the Legion windup?
Yeah, I mean, look, they're starting to put it together, be in position. Again, just like DNA a couple laps before, they were getting Kim some points, but they're at the front just being together.
Yep.
they're communicating, hey, this is the pace we need to ride. And they've got the experience of, looking down potentially at their computer and going, we know if we just ride this pace, we don't get too much action, right? This is fast enough to keep things at bay, but slow enough where it's not too taxing on us at the moment.
Yeah, we were talking earlier this week about that moment of understanding bike races where the riders who are relaxed and mentally present in the race, they've been paying attention at every lap leading into this moment. They've been looking at their computers. They're like, okay, we've been averaging 38 Ks an hour. We're going to ride 39 K an hour now just to keep this thing in check. If we need to lift to 40, 41, we'll start to get there if we need to. But it's a very specific type of disciplined riding at the front right now. You're hearing the preem bell being rung for $300, I hear. But look at this, Legion is just riding discipline. They lift the speed up a little bit as DNA came up on the hip. Legion accelerated, but not out of the saddle. It's a seated acceleration.
Yeah, and this is where, some of these other smaller teams can't get too excited and say, we got to take the front and, give Legion the draft. But they also can't just tuck in behind Legion and let them choose the pace. They've got to now start to ride next to the train and be shoulder to shoulder from second wheel, all the way back and ride train to train. That way when Legion looks over, they go, a team is right here. And if they don't want them there, Legion has to pick up the pace. And the sooner you just match that, you start going one for one. Daphne's at the front, ride next to Alexis Ryan. They're now doing effort for effort if, Alexis doesn't want them to pass. If they're just sitting on the wheel now, Alexis can pick her pace.
Okay.
She can coast longer. She doesn't have to pedal as hard for as long. But if you place your train next to them, now Alexis has to match that speed. And if they don't want to get taken over, they have to match. And if you're at the same level, it's going to be one for one. You're going to do 2 laps virtually, at the same time. You're going to be burning the same energy. So just because you're behind, you're resting, but Legion's also resting. This team in control is also not doing that much work.
Okay.
So you have to start to ride next to the train and just kind of egg them on, and just match their pace, and get them to go from further out longer than they want to, and really start to get your sprinters isolated one-on-one, towards, the last 300-400 meters of this race. And not let Legion get to the final corner with 4 riders.
Yeah, Rachel Langdon going to take that preem there, and I believe we're now at 5 to go in this race. Like Rachel Langdon from DNA Pro Cycling, out of northern Great Britain, as she would clarify, that she is now coming out and around and going to try to insert herself back into the mix. That's an interesting decision there by DNA to actually go for the preem, as we are getting a lot of wind kicking up here.
The wind
where
is
we
really
are
starting to come up.
So how is the wind going to really affect our final kick here, Daniel?
Yeah, again, it's a headwind sprint that's uphill, but you do have 2, long back straightaways that are going to be tailwinds. You're going to get tailwind, a right-left corner into a tailwind, into a right-right, into a headwind finish. So, the tailwind can, potentially encourage people to go too early, right? You're like, I'm going fast, let's go. But it's, earlier. So with the tailwind, you've got to instill the discipline and still hit your marks, where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, and we're also now seeing the dynamic further back in the field where the riders are really single file. They're really trying to hang on, stay focused, but that red jersey of Andrea Sear now coming to the front. Andrea wearing the red leaders jersey for the ACC. So you not only have Friday night at Blue Dome, the McNally's Group Blue Dome race occurring here, you also have the next stop of the American Criterium Cup occurring, and Andrea Sear is your leader of that, wearing the red jersey. First time we've really talked about her, as we were talking about earlier in the broadcast. It's the riders we don't talk about who get us the most interesting. Let's see, are they ringing another preem bell?
That sounds like another preem lap. DNA has reorganized, got their team towards the front.
Look at this, the back of the field is just shattering right now. This pace is really lifting. I'll tell you what, Kendall Ryan looks really comfortable to me, Daniel. She is sitting in her national championship jersey at the back of the train. There are riders up on her hip really fighting her for that Legion train, but she is not letting anything go. Hopefully we don't get blown into the course here as we are sitting on right outside of turn number 1. The wind is really picking up right now. I think that this is going to cause a little bit of a shift in the sprint timing. So those riders who are out here right now who have really thought about, okay, I know my timing, I know when and where I'm going to jump, that timing may get shifted slightly, especially if that shift becomes more of a tailwind. I'm looking at flags again, and what do you see? I see tailwind on the start-finish straight. I feel it at my back.
Yeah, the wind has definitely switched as this storm is starting to come from the last corner. If we get that expanded shot from corner 1 to the last corner, we're going to see the sky is starting to get ominous. It's getting dark gray. The wind has switched as this storm has come. So that dynamic's different. Now we have a tailwind uphill, but guess what? Now we have 2 long back straightaways with a headwind.
Okay.
So now you really have to be sure you don't go too early to, run out of legs and get swarmed, on the backstretch going into those corners.
An added dynamic, there's a bit of construction just before where the riders just came through, and there's just a cloud of sand just being blown into the course, into their faces right now. And so that's going to add a little bit of extra dynamic to this whole thing as we come into the final 3 laps of our race. 3 laps to go right now, and the wind is really picking up. This storm is coming.
Yeah, we can see the sky in the background starting to get dark.
Yeah, storm is coming both on course and in the skies as we wind ourselves up. Legion is getting themselves to the finish line as quickly as possible here as the wind picks up, and other teams are going to try to figure it out. We've got DNA Pro Cycling, Miami Knights trying to get themselves. Denver Disruptors a little bit more disorganized from behind. Flags are up. I'm not sure. I don't see any downed riders, but our course marshal's raising a red flag as the riders come by. Ureli Salazar on the front right now. Again, a 2020 Olympian for Mexico. She's also won herself a number of races on the track. So Salazar now winding it up for Legion of Los Angeles. The rest of the teams, this is the time to decide, right, Daniel? Whether you're going to come up and around or if you're going to just let Legion do the work.
This is where you have to just let them ride. They're starting to really accelerate the pace. Don't go up there and help them. But you want to ride the hip. You want to make sure that when they look over, that people are there and they can't take any rest. This is where, as a team, you really want to be trying to ride, next to them. It doesn't matter if you're riding, next to Kendall or next to Sam in front of her. You want to be there, ever present on the side of them. So Kendall's yelling up the train, hey, up, 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 faster, 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 and get these Legion riders to take longer, harder pulls sooner than they want to.
This is amazing to see. Ureli is really digging it. When you see Ureli digging it, is that Skylar?
Skylar's showing up front a little sooner than we would anticipate. But who knows? The communication, she may not be riding as well as her sister, riding as well as Kendall, and that's the fluidity they have of their team to be able to communicate and lay these plans out. And their talent is so deep that they're able to swip and swap. You're not always relying on Kendall and Skylar to be the finishes at every race.
I mean, I think the Skylar has won this race before. The Legion of Los Angeles, a very tight family on the bike. 2 laps to go now. 2 laps remaining in this bike race. Legion of Los Angeles now setting up Kendall Ryan now last wheel, and she is looking for that win. Now Sam is right in front. Samantha Snyder is right in front of Kendall. So perhaps Kendall is the sweeper wheel for Sam, who has won this race in the past, but Samantha now a young mom and a baker with her sister. Perhaps they are still trying to set up Kendall wearing these Stars and Stripes.
And you can see that it's just really starting to come apart about 15, 20 wheels back.
Oh.
See, there's a gap, to that might be Rachel Langdon, into a couple other girls. And there's 5 or 6 into 5 or 6 into 5 or 6. And now we see, the Sweat Rider and somebody else,
these
feeling
riders,
the pace.
They look like their shifters are banged up. Looks like they may have gone down. These riders are not the front of the field. We're going to try to get our eyes on where their front is, and there it is. You got yourselves the Schneiders, Ureli, and Alexis Ryan up at the front, coming by the sand right now. What do you see, Daniel?
And that's 10, 12 riders in that front split, and then a few bike lengths, 5 riders, a few bike lengths, a few, so
wow.
If you've missed that, Leah Kirkman, missed that. She's doing a really big effort with 2 to go. It's really not ideal for herself or to be able to get up there and help Andrea, move up that train and place herself well.
Yeah, I think I see Stephanie Hollimack in there as well, but this is looking really good, really promising for our final lap as we're going to be coming into 1 lap to go here as we are looking at our Legion of Los Angeles train winding it up. 1 lap to go here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. McNally's group Blue Dome event Friday night here in Tulsa. The excitement is full gas. Daniel, you are looking excited. What are you seeing?
Yeah, it's super deep. It's, these gaps, they can happen so quick that if you're not there to be there, you've missed it. But look, Holly Breck right on the back of the train. Really good position on Kendall Ryan. Andrea's here 2 wheels back from that.
These splits are massive right now. Skylar Schneider gritting her teeth.
Oh, that's not Holly Breck.
Who is it? And then we got is that Liv?
That is Liv.
Yeah, nice.
Coming from the Lux development team.
Young rider from the Velodrome coming up to the front. She was on Lux Cycling just last year. This is her first year on DNA. She's a very good sprinter, but very young, unknown quantity. Rider number 1 is Skylar Schneider. She is gritting her teeth. Pan-Am champion right now on the front of this race. Alexis Ryan, winner in Athens, is second wheel right now. They are clearly working for Kendall at the moment. I believe that Sam Schneider with the green glasses as they set themselves up to come into the final few turns. Daniel, this is pivotal. This is it.
Yep. We're going to see probably Skylar in her turn right out of here and Alexis Ryan come and just do a full sprint into the final 2 corners. Here we go.
There it is. Alexis now taking over with Sam right behind. Now, this is crucial with wind and the uphill sprint. Have they set themselves up too early? Alexis desperately trying to smash those pedals to get themselves to the front. And Samantha sitting there in second wheel. It's 1 turn to go, Daniel, and there's the kick. Whoa! Kendall taking him to the fence right now, shutting the door. Kendall wants this win. Kendall now re-accelerates, but it's very early. As we've seen in other races, this is an uphill kick. Kendall Ryan with the head down as she comes to the line. Kendall Ryan, ladies and gentlemen, takes the win here tonight.
Yeah, that was, Legion, with the change of wind, the extended course, nailed their lead out, for Skylar to do such a big pull, drop Alexis off on that backstretch, and kind of made it so, Kendall can make that decision of when to go.
So we're going to see if that was an amazing, their final corner moment. Did she shut the door there on Olivia Cummings?
She did. Liz, went to go inside there. Kendall felt it and just, did the early apex.
Yeah, amazing to see what was going on there. The camera angle is tough. Catherine Sarkisov there in the background with the orange shoulders. Just a note there, she's a very young athlete, under 20 years old at the front of this field. Here we come, Kendall Ryan to the finish line, setting up, celebrating early, slapping the just saying, I am Legion of Los Angeles. I am the national champion here at Blue Dome, taking the win tonight. And one more time, a little further out from a different camera angle. Olivia Cummings, great ride though there by that DNA Pro Cycling rider. Great to see her get herself so far up in these races at this level. Kendall takes the win. Samantha Schneider behind. Great racing there here tonight, Daniel, where we saw Legion really setting the tempo, setting the scene early on, right?
Yeah, when they come to the front, the first 3 laps and say, look, we're all 6 of us are here, do something about it. That could be, people can see that as like, oh man, they're really here. We might have to readjust. We might have to think of something different. So they set the tone, kind of put the ball on the rest of the peloton and say, hey, you want to race? Let's race. And then the other teams have to kind of make that decision from there on how aggressive they want to be, the tactics they want to develop around that.
We're going to get ourselves situated here. Kendall is going to come around. We'll hopefully get some words with her and maybe even some others from the field as we see ourselves set up here for welcoming our champions to the podium here. I'm going to take some words here. Ureli Salazar, maybe Julian actually. There right now, getting a little camera time. But here comes Kendall with her cool down lap. Finishing up. This is Friday night here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. This is the McNelly's Group Blue Dome race in downtown Tulsa, Oklahoma. This is night 1 of the infamous Tulsa Tough. I'm Gabe Lloyd. I've been joined by Daniel Holloway here. Of course, we have the men's professional race coming up next. Don't go anywhere. Give yourself a little snack if you're listening at home, and then be sure to come on back and tune in for the final race of the night here this evening. Yeah, Kendall getting herself the introduction there at the start finish. Nice little, there it is. Kendall getting herself the introduction. Julian, we love that. Hugging her in. Kendall gonna talk to Rasam. Nice to have Samahati on stage
cyclist
here
the
with
U.S.
us
has
this
ever
year.
seen. I've known her since she was a pup. I can say that. And you've done everything. Olympic hopeful. This coming up next Olympics on the track. Multi-time national champion. You've raced all across the world, but you come back to Tulsa and absolute smash the first day here. Take us through the last lap.
Man, my team was amazing today. They just took charge and didn't let anything faze them. So I just want to thank my team first. Then I want to thank Tulsa for coming out and cheering so loud. It was so loud we could barely hear each other talk in the race. And yeah, like we were actually here sprinting for Sam. And it was just like we got shuffled in the end, and DNA came up on the inside and I just had to go. So yeah, it was just a super fast lap. It got really windy on the backside. And yeah, it was just pure grit today. I'm just super proud of my team for coming through.
Yeah, speaking of the last corner here, I saw DNA take the inside, but it also speaks to your experience. Can you talk a little bit about just that quick move that you had to make a quick decision to make sure that you didn't get jumped on the inside?
I mean, it just comes with time on the bike and racing, and you have to have that pack awareness and what's going on around you and keep your head on a swivel. And I just saw her out of the corner of my eye. The spidey senses were tingling, and I just had to go. So we have a plan going in, but sometimes it doesn't work out perfectly. And but yeah, we still have to make sure we win on the day. Also, happy birthday to our Swan Year Turbo. The win was for you.
Last thing before I let you go and celebrate. You have a lot of good riders on your team. Frankie and I talked about during the race, your kit stands out. You're the national champion. We didn't talk about you the entire race. Was that the plan, to just sit back and hide and wait for the finish?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're just trying to keep people guessing on who we were gonna race for. Just keep it interesting. I think everyone didn't really know what we were doing because Skylar won last year. So, yeah, just trying to keep the race fun and racing forward.
Well, it's always a pleasure to watch you race. Congratulations. Give it up for Legion of Los Angeles, Kendall Ryan.
What an incredible job. The blue jerseys representing Crenshaw taking the win. Now we have up next our pro men. Like to be able to call our pro men to the line, pro men to staging. Pro men, come on out to the course. Pro men to the line, please. Pro men to the line. Let them out to the staging area, please. Let's go. Thank you, Peter. Gentlemen, stop at the staging area. Stop at the staging area. Thank you very much. a first place in the Athens Twilight Criterium. Just coming back from a break from competition, but he's
Check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
All those mics are off. The only mic on is these two right here.
Check. 1, 2, 3.
Your collegiate road race national champion, Dusan Galaba.
Turned off. Because all it is screaming ladies in my ear. Well, I mean, even when I turn it up, he's like 500 million miles away. So I can hear him more clearly when I take that off.
Team for 2023, and that is the Miami Blazers, Brandon Feary. This rider comes from South Africa, riding for the Denver Disruptors. He is your South African National Criterium champ, Reinhard Jans van Rensburg. Another national champion coming from Anguilla. Please welcome Hassani Hinnis. Riding for the German team, DCC Alpecin. Well, guess what? He's your German National Criterium champion, Jonas Schmeiser. This rider rides for ACG. He's your U.S. Amateur National Champion, Michael Hernandez. This rider's one of the fastest riders in the nation. He won this race in 2021 and 2019. He's wearing the brand new blue jerseys of Legion of Los Angeles. Please welcome Justin Williams. He's a previous professional Criterium national champion. He won this race last year, your 2022 reigning champion. He also rides for Legion of LA, Ty Magner. Rest of the riders come on up to the line as we have 131 riders, an incredible field, a full field, as we are moments away from kicking off the McNally's Blue Dome Criterium.
Let's see what I got here. Where's what's his name? Where's my leader? Where's Steve? The head ref. Where is he? Oh, he changed hats. Oh, he changed hats. You got with 30 seconds? 30 seconds?
Not sure, but we want to definitely mention our beast, our nation's #1 beast. Corey Williams is also here with the Go helmet on. I see you, my guy.
All right, we're back here. I am Gabe Lloyd, joined by Daniel Holloway here. This is Friday night at St. Francis Tough. McNally's Group Blue Dome. Friday night in Tulsa Tough, a nice way to kick it off. We have returning champions coming to the line, as well as a number of national champions. But the story right now is whether or not Legion of Los Angeles can defend their streak here at the Friday night Blue Dome event. Daniel Holloway, thank you for joining us here. We've had a great women's race just come to the line. Kendall Ryan for Legion of Los Angeles, unofficially your winner, as we have a bit of a review occurring at the end of that race. We'll let you know as soon as we know what's going on. But this race is now underway. Daniel, we got ourselves full gas racing. What do you think the first few laps will shake out to be?
Boogity, 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 race time. I'm here for it. No, I like to see, I think the men are going to be very, very aggressive. I think there's going to be a lot of jockeying for position. You know, teams are going to be wanting to set the tone, saying, hey, I'm going to throw the first punch. This is going to be our race, and this is how we're going to race it. You know, this is our race, and you're going to race it how we want you to. So we're just going to see how that plays out. You know, these German riders coming here is a new element to this field. A lot of the American guys haven't seen them or, you know, their style of racing. So I'm excited to see how these guys get integrated and you know, push the race in a different direction than kind of what we've maybe previously seen.
DCC racing very well at our Armed Forces Cycling Classic last weekend, where they really took the race to the front, and they really upended a race dynamic that Legion was trying to set. Now, Legion did win the first first day of Armed Forces last week with Corey Williams, but Legion going to come here tonight. They are the defending champs. That's Ty Magner. Before that is Justin Williams. Justin always very easy to pick out with his Red Bull helmet, and he was riding first wheel there. Now, this is interesting to see for me. I remember being in races in the past where these guys are just riding absolutely full gas, and it is completely strung out from the beginning. But right now, we are seeing 5 wide as we come through these races, and it looked like Brian Gomez on the inside, putting himself up the front. Rider for Miami Knights put himself there.
No.
The riders now coming through. We're looking at no laps on the count. Here's your defending champion, Ty Magner, on the front. Riding nice low cadence, riding real steady state. Look at that. Is that Eamon?
Lucas.
Eamon Lucas going down already.
He's got to be careful not to ride backwards or go backwards on the course. As close you could be, spitting distance, to the pit. And, by the rules, you do have to go, all the way, take the long lap. You don't get penalized for it. The officials see it that, you may be in an awkward spot, but you got to go with the race flow, not against the course. If that takes a little bit longer, the officials understand that, but you got to do the right thing. Go with the course. Never go against the grain.
All right, Eamon now in the pit, and he's a little verbal with some of his explanations right now of what happened. So
it looks like a broken chain. He's got no chain on his bicycle.
Okay, no chain on the bike. There's nothing Eamon can do about that, where as soon as you lose that pressure on the feet, you're going down.
Yeah, or you stand to sprint and that chain goes away from you, you can just go straight over the handlebars or, save it, but you've unclipped and you're riding the top tube and, full surf. So he doesn't look for worse for wear physically. It's just the fact that the chain is gone from his bike. That means it's inoperable.
He's going to be a little frustrated, but we'll see Alec Cohen on the front right now. Alec, we spoke with him at the Ride with the Pros event last night on the Thursday night Ride with the Pros. Alec said that they came here to take the win, and he is now on the front, setting some tempo. He is certainly here to help guide their riders to the front. Sam Boardman right behind him. Ty Magner is there, but you see in those white rimmed glasses, Brian Gomez with the Miami Knights patrolling. I think Brian Gomez is a rider that could really upset the dynamic of this race. I think Gomez has a lot of potential. He's a very aggressive Colombian rider who has always brought the race action to the front of the field.
Yeah, Brian's been, racing these crits for a while. I think he was part of Gateway way back when. His time on Hincap, he's kind of floated around, but the last few years he's really kind of found his stride and really coming to the forefront, of these races. But there's Gomez, there's Alfredo, there's a German rider. We have the South African on the Disruptors, Noah Granigan, Danny Estevez, Michael Hernandez. There's a lot of guys thereabouts that I think, really kind of have the potential to really push, the Legion chain, all the way to the finish line here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I sometimes I wonder what the thought process is for a team like Legion to set up tempo right now on the first few laps. 5 minutes into racing.
And we got DCC attacking.
How did we miss that?
German national champion attack in the race. Legion setting up the front here again this is our race, this is our tone. If you don't like it, change it, right? This is them dictating how they want to race, how they want the race. They're pushing it in their favor. And if the other teams don't like that, they've got to do something about it. They've got to get out there, do what this German rider is doing, and push Legion,
Yeah, Jonas Schurmeister here for DCC, now German national Criterium champion. Nice to have the DCC boys joining us. Andreas Meyer is going to be number 51 from that program, who won at Armed Forces. Oh, a big crash here.
You see that there's Spencer Motitzvana in here.
And this
Bowler
is in
V
the pit.
Twin, Danny Estevez.
In the pit.
In the pit. We have, who else? Iman has got his bike together. He's got a chain on to race soon. We've got an elbow guy getting his bike worked on. So this just happened. We didn't see it on camera. Maybe we get a replay of this. Kind of what pulled a rider like Spencer, into the pit at this. Oh, he's got a broken right shifter.
Okay.
Full,
I see that.
Full broken.
Fully
He's
sheared
looking
off.
for a new bike. Yeah, that's fully sheared.
So Spencer's shifter is sheared off. So we have about 8 riders in the pit right now. Spencer Morvendoza's bike is all banged up. So this is Iman Lucas just coming to a stop with the frustration there of banging his bottles out of his bike there. So maybe put a little skate tape on his bottle cages there. But we'll try to see if we get the crash on tape. Otherwise, back to the action.
Maybe this is it.
Yeah, no crash. We have our German national champion bringing it to the front, and I think that is actually going to be our Hassani Hennis, our Anguillan national champion, joining him at the front. Hassani Hennis, I actually saw him at the baggage claim at the airport the other day, and he was talking about how he's very motivated to try to prove himself here at Tulsa Tough. He's had a string of different series of unfortunate events, as he said, throughout the past couple of weeks, and so he's trying to show that he is capable and ready. Joining forces with the DCC guys here tonight unofficially could be a good tactical move there for your Anguillan national champion.
Yeah, you want to align yourself, a rider like that needs to align himself with the other aggressive racers, aggressive teams. Because, if you get off the front 10, 12 seconds, you're going to look over and be like, I got a companion. I got a guy that's going to take turn for turn, doesn't want to go back to the field, and, really push the pace to, to be off the front and not get caught up in, some drama or anything that, like we just saw in the pits of, all that happening. So,
Tyler Williams on the front right now for Legion of Los Angeles, number 81. And you're going to see the DCC guys. So watch the German national champion. Look how far back he goes, if at all, to see where he recovers. That's going to be his tell of how fit he is. Right? So he was just off the front attacking the Legion of Los Angeles train. Then he got caught, and now he's immediately just sitting at 10th wheel talking to Andreas Meyer. To me, that shows he's coming into this race with a tremendous amount of fitness, and what we just saw was not necessarily an all-out attack. It was a test of the other teams.
Yeah, and he's got his teammates surrounded in that, top 5, top 10. So when he comes back from a move, he's got a wheel. He doesn't have to fight for a wheel. He's going to look back, and his teammates going to just open the gap, and he's got a safe space to pop in, right there in the front of the race instead of like getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. That just shows that team's organized, has it together, and very disciplined.
Yeah, I also see Cesar Marte up in the mix there, right in the middle. So Cesar's a rider from New York City. He's got a little bit of, and this is Corey Williams coming through as well. We all know Corey. He's very distinctive in all of our races, but trying to look at some of the riders who maybe can upend the apple cart of some of that traditional control that we've seen in some of our fields. We're also seeing Ryan Jastrab with the Butcher Box program with the red shoulders coming up into the mix and the sort of floating, that what I always called the sweet spot. This is where you floated, Daniel, right? So you got sort of the pointy end of the guys doing the work, but then right behind where it starts to get 2, 3, 4 wide, there's a little bit of a sweet aerodynamic benefit where you can sort of float. When you start to get further behind that, you're running the risk of starting to get caught up into traffic where you no longer control your pack position.
Yeah, there's just a lot of yo-yoing, behind probably 25. A lot of guys that are coming from 40th, 50th, they do a big effort, and that's just where they end up, right? They're trying to tuck in before a corner, or that's where they just hit fatigue and says, you know what, I need draft. And they come in right at that 25th spot. So if you're in front of that, but behind 10, that, anywhere from 10 to 20, that's in that kind of neutral washing machine where you don't get a lot of that from the back swell fatigue, and then you got the good guys that, want the rest, that's where they want to envelop. So if you can kind of control that gateway, you're kind of staying out of both the front 10 accelerations, and you're staying out of that, back half accelerations and a lot of position fighting.
Right now in the field dynamic, it is still together. I was watching riders as they came by us here at the neutral pit, and at the back of the field, a lot of coasting, a lot of comfort, a lot of guys taking sips of water as they come by the downhill section by neutral support, showing that race dynamic is steady. There's not a lot of changes in speed that are going to necessarily negatively affect the legs. Spencer Morvendoza back into the neutral pit, shaking his head, saying, no, this isn't quite right. So we may be seeing the end of the night here for Spencer as he's coming off course for Miami Blazers. Now that could be bad news because they are bringing home, they brought to this mix both Brendan Fury and Danny Estevez, two very strong finishers, but they need riders like Spencer in there in order to help defend the pack position as you get deeper into the mix.
And he's looking, over here, we're right by the pit so we can kind of watch, but he's having a cleat or, broken pedal issue at the moment. So, if you have those resources, they're on a large team, having a spare set of shoes never hurts.
Mr. Danny Summerhill coming to the front right now. He's the leader of your ACC. He's on screen. And he is now out of the saddle, Mr. Summerhill. We are talking to him. I think there was maybe a preem on the line because that's the only time we see him really go after some laps like that in that way.
Yeah, Danny's MO is kind of those sneaky points, sneaky preems, relatively easy. Danny just likes kind of that game, but he's got an opportunity. Craven is a master technician, master tactical guy. He's kind of the conductor of the team, if you will. That it's, even though we saw Danny with a solid gap there, if it's not your tactic to exploit that gap and put the gas on, it's very disciplined for Danny to look back and be like, I could put the pressure on, make teams work, but that's not our team tactic. Even though I would love to just go, really hard right now.
At the moment, that was Dusan Kalaba, who won a actually aggressive rider jersey, I believe, last week at Armed Forces. And Dusan is, I've been told that he has a background in a little bit of motorsport as well. So we'll see if he brings that to our race here tonight as far as smoothness on the bike. A lot of times riders who have ridden motocross in the back approach turns a little bit differently, but they're always smooth because smooth is fast no matter what discipline of sport you are coming from. Looking at some field dynamic right now with our drone shot overhead, and we have Legion back at the front with some control. A lot of riders still together, still chilling out. Frank Treviaso here with the pink helmet near the back, just showing us that this is not panic time. This is hangout time for riders like that. Frank is one of the most experienced athletes out there. Still showing us what he can do.
Yeah, and with his age and experiences, he could move around this peloton, delicate dance. He can go back to front to back, basically at will. And it's not using massive watts. It's really understanding the course dynamics and where he can just pick up 10 positions almost without pedaling, or with just 3 very curated pedal strokes. When guys are coasting, he just knows where to just go zip and add some speed, coast around the outside, past 20 guys, like it was nothing.
Yeah. Interesting. I was just looking at the Red Bull helmet of Justin Williams, and now we see the blue back there. He's a little further back than I would expect even a rider like Justin. He's sort of in the back of the washing machine mix in a spot where I would say you can't really control your pack position quite as well. Now, Justin is a very skillful rider where he could probably maneuver much better than I ever could, that's for sure. But, it's interesting to watch a rider like him be in that position, because in the past when I've seen Justin get that far back, it's a little bit of a tell that maybe his legs aren't quite where he wants them to be, especially when the rest of the team is very well organized up at the front.
Justin has that pack presence about him that kind of regardless of where he is, he's not going to feel the full washing machine aspect. He's not going to get guys trying to get the wheel in front of him. Guys are going to be like, I want to be on Justin's wheel and not try to take a wheel from Justin. It's too much energy, and they just look up to him and be like, he's far back. He's got to be moving up soon. I want to be a part of that. What they don't understand is he can do it so craftily that it takes no energy, and they could blink, and all of a sudden Justin's 10 wheels up, and they go, well, what just happened? I don't know.
Right.
But also we saw Justin lead the first 2 laps.
Yep.
Big efforts, set the tone of the race, and a course like this, it's just the gradual uphill from the last corner to the first is you just lose 3, 4, 5 positions and save your legs over the course of 5, 7 laps. It just saves your energy, and he can do it so well that it's 5, 10 riders at a time, and it puts himself in the position he's currently in. But again, he can read the race, read the tempo, and he can even communicate to his guys, hey guys, just come off the pedals here for a half second. And that's that ripple effect, that pace slowdown can make it to him. So it slows down, and he keeps the momentum, and all of a sudden, boom, he's right there.
Oh, that's
so this
magic
finesse,
right there.
it's a lot of just experience, finesse, reading the course, and communication with the team. But now we see Denver Disruptors on the right side of our screen starting to get together, move up the field, whether that's, them wanting to just, be second team in line or set something up, start some attacks rolling and the pressure.
Yeah, Sergio Jaineo is coming to our race here tonight. He's a very experienced rider, top-level experience. Noah Granigan looks to be fourth wheel for them right now. They've now overtaken the Legion train, and so Denver Disruptors now bringing the fight to the front of our field at the moment, as we will see what the response will be from the rest of the field. And that is Juan Arango. So an Olympian from Colombia on the track. Juan, a very experienced, savvy rider. Great to see Olympians joining us here at the front of the field. And Juan Arango now going to keep the pace high for our Denver Disruptors. Checks the shoulder as he comes by us here. But Denver now setting the tempo.
Another rider that we haven't seen maybe the last couple of years is Ulises Castelo. He was also, a guy that I faced a lot in my career as a field sprinter, really fast, crafty Mexican rider. So, they've got a really interesting team with Van Rensburg, Castillo, Granigan, Jaineo, and Juan Arango from Colombia on the track. It's a very diverse, unique tactical team that, it's cards that a lot of guys haven't necessarily seen before. And I think they're just still figuring it out together as a unit. Juan Arango came here last year, raced a bit with the Colombian team. They did really well at Gateway Cup, surprised a lot of people.
Okay.
So I think, Juan, a very savvy rider, figures it out, very quick. But it's how does his style match up with Noah, match up with, Castillo? They all come from kind of different backgrounds, different styles. So, those directors, Swain Tuft and Sebastian Alexander, with those two NCL programs, are bringing their experience to these guys to bring in a team that can really start to exploit their talents against kind of this known American peloton.
Tyler Williams for Legion of Los Angeles now putting himself back on the front. It was an interesting disciplined response by Legion there over the last lap, just to slowly bring it back, using the course to their advantage, using their speed through turns to bring back the move rather than pedal strokes to bring back the move. And the response from the field was interesting as well, where you saw a lot of more I was watching more pedal strokes come from the other teams just to position themselves. I don't know if you saw the same thing, but when I'm watching this race right now, to me, there's a lot of smooth as fast occurring up at the front, real discipline, a lot of talking on the radio from Legion, whereas the other teams are stomping pedals just to try to move themselves around in the field and burning a lot of energy maybe when they don't have to. Now, if we look further back, maybe in the mid-half, you got a lot of pink helmets for Miami Blazers. And hopefully a program like that with the good, strong finishers like Brandon Fury and Danny Estevez are saving themselves for the final third of this race right now, doing what they need to do in order to stay out of trouble and have as few pedal strokes as possible to get themselves around this course.
In a team like that, I mean, it's very easy, very easy tactic. You can look up and see, all 6 Legion or 5 Legion are at the front. Nothing's going anywhere. At the end of the day, look, we're going to, no matter what happens, we're going to sit back and, if 8 guys go up the road, we're going to, kind of put it in Legion's hands to do the grunt work and really kind of sit back, save energy, not be present, kind of out of sight, out of mind. When I raced, it was the whole peloton was on my mind. I was thinking of every guy I could think of. And as the race progressed, that list shrunk lap after lap. And it was really, who was present, who was I always seeing. Those riders became forefront of mind. And there was always, I knew to think of Justin regardless if I saw him or not, right? There's always those 1 or 2 riders that I didn't have to see to be thinking of. But it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. So if, Blazers is not at the front of the race, there's teams that just kind of slowly forget about them, and then you can just kind of make a big move towards the end of the race, and everybody's kind of shocked. Oh, crap, we forgot about that.
Yep. It is interesting to see also, just sort of watching Jastrab float there with a red butcher box, and about like on our screen it's about a pink glasses. Butcher box shoulders there, just floating really casually up near the front. Ryan Jastrab coming to us with a lot of, goals. He has a lot of goals in this race, and he would look to back up a lot of his aggression. Now here we see an overtake by Denver Disruptors one more time. A little bit of chaos there as they exit that turn. As we're seeing Yusilis Castillo, the rider you were just talking about, you said that he is a good sprinter from Mexico. He is now on the front setting tempo, and the mix of riders into the Legion of Los Angeles train has now been pretty drastically disrupted with Denver Disruptors. I think that might be Noah in there as well, and then the Andreas Meyer potentially. Yeah, number 51 is going to be Andreas Meyer, your winner on the second day of the Armed Forces Cycling Classic last weekend.
Yeah, we can see, Denver, coming to the front. We saw it a few laps ago, 3 or 4 of those guys come to the front. And similar as a sprinter would potentially use a preem to test distance, test his legs. Hey, what do I, how far can I go from, or, not go from? What is this corner like at speed? A team like that can go to the front, and just ride 2-3 hard laps as a test. What is it going to feel like towards the end of the race to do our lead out? Give some of the lead out guys a feel of, where can they coast, where do they need to go hard, and kind of start to figure out their stuff. Go do 3-4 laps, get a feel, and then go back and hide.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's sussing out the course and also starting to figure out how they're going to ride at speed a little bit later on. But we're not seeing some other riders like Clever Martinez, for example, of Miami Knights, putting himself up near the front. That looks like Spencer Morvendoza putting himself up the front. I think that's Spencer.
Yeah, he's got his, whatever he had going on, figured out to get himself. And that's, again, another reason why we may have seen that team midfield, maybe not executing they want, because one of their team leaders was in the pit figuring their things out. So they may have had to go, hey, plan B, or we got to figure something, hit the brakes on, what we're thinking of doing until Spencer gets back in the race, or we know if he's is or isn't getting back in the race. So now that he is, we might see them be a little more active.
Let's see where we're at with our field dynamic at the moment, as we have our nice drone shot overhead. We're about 2 to 3 wide, which shows that the speed is lifting a little bit at the moment as different teams are jockeying for position up near the front of our race, and we do have our Blazers up at the front.
And what I don't like about Spencer just riding the front like this is giving Alex Cowan, Tyler Williams, Sam Boardman a free ride. These are the guys who are supposed to be, setting the tone, setting the pace. So if you're not attacking them, you let them ride the front. All you're doing is, that's not Spencer. That's going to be Tanner Ward. Excuse me. But again, that team just setting the tempo, in my opinion, no apparent reason, right? We didn't get a chance to talk to these guys to kind of get a feel for their tactics or what they're thinking. But as I see it right now, you're just doing their work. You're giving them 2-3 extra laps towards the end of the race with a little better legs. They need to be attacking, this train and getting them to fall for the bait, do some accelerations and not just ride an easy tempo. And if Tanner's up there, he's got to get his guys got to go up there and build a train, not just him solo. He's not really doing much to get his team anywhere, further along in the race.
Okay. So it looks like Alec on the front right now. H&P drone shots coming to us. Looks like these guys in the middle of the bunch, though, out of the saddle, desperately trying to move themselves forward in just trying to use this longer back or sort of final third section of the course where there's a few more opportunities for pedal strokes to come around. A little bit of weather action coming to us, so you see those clouds starting to roll forward onto our course.
Yeah, we saw the wind. We really felt the wind come in towards the end of the women's race. It's kind of died down. That weather system is just ominously hanging out there saying, do you dare us? Do you dare us come near you?
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Hopefully it hangs out. The clouds are beautiful, but we don't actually want them to be around us. So let's see where we go. We're turning our course lights on. We're starting to see this field start to wind it up a little bit as we have our Germans coming to the front for DCC. I do believe that is Andreas Meyer, and he will be one to watch here. Now, When we spoke to the riders last night at Ride with the Pros, they were very pessimistic about a breakaway opportunity here. And Dan, you were also pessimistic about the chances of a breakaway to occur here. And it looks to me, as we're getting about 25 minutes in, 27 laps remaining in this contest, we've seen a few attempts, but nothing has even gotten close to being successful.
Yeah, you know, from what I've seen, nobody's actually tried, right? Like, we've never seen anybody put an earnest effort into making the race super hard, smash it up. And I think in my time, you know, this race has existed, to my knowledge, my recollection, it's not perfect, but it's been 1 year where Toyota United smashed it from the line, caught everybody off guard. Everybody was out of position. They put 5 guys, and I was kind of the lucky winner to just take that ride. It was not easy, but it was those 5 and me that lapped the field. And it took about 80% of that race, I think.
Oh, wow.
And so it wasn't easy, and you had 5 guys fully committed. But that's the only time I've ever seen it, is 5 guys fully committed, all in, not caring what was happening behind them, to split that race up and make it happen on tonight's type. There's a lot of energy. Friday night's fresh. You know, there's just that energy that makes it that extra layer of difficulty for a break like that to happen.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but when you did that, it was a different direction and slightly shortened section here just past us?
Yeah, correct. It was left-hand turns, counterclockwise, and it didn't have that block that has been added, you know, this year. So
okay, very different dynamic. I think when you have those really short back-to-back-to-back turns, compared to this long straight that you're seeing right now, you know, when you're out of sight, you're out of mind as well for a peloton, and that can be very beneficial for a breakaway. In this instance, a break would have to have nearly a 20-second advantage or more to be out of sight on this course, and that's pretty big from what we've seen.
It's pretty big, but there's plenty of guys that are capable if they just said, I'm going to knuckle down and do this, you know, and I just need 3 or 4 friends to be on the same page and just hammer for 5-6 minutes. I think we could see a drastically different race. It's just getting those guys, whoever it may be, you know, decide, hey, let's try this tactic. You know, we've seen a lot of bike races just like this happening. One team comes to the front, sets the tone, and nobody really tries to upset that apple cart until 5-6 to go. And we've seen teams have success out of that, but there's a lot of teams that haven't, and they really need to try something other than just floating around 15th wheel waiting for something to happen. They got to go out there and make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just got to bring the race to the front, but doing it in a way where you're also not just completely blowing yourself with the attempt of doing so. It's got to still be a calculated effort, a calculated risk, I should say, if you're going to even make the attempt. Otherwise, you might find yourself exiting the race at the back more than the front. Michael Hernandez wearing the amateur national championship kit, as it were, and Hernandez really bringing a little bit of speed. Now, Thomas Craven is their director sportif. Craven, very a masterful tactician. Do you think this is a calculated move, or something coming from the sidelines and saying, Michael, hit it out, see what happens?
Or pre-race, hey, halfway point, we really want to start putting pressure on. Michael, you're the first guy to do it. Okay. And it's, you know, when a guy like Craven says halfway, it's not exactly 30 minutes. So much could be happening. It's, hey, you know, around that 30-minute mark, use your experience, use your feel, and when to take that moment to go. And so, you know, we're going to see Michael commit for a lap, at least a lap, see what kind of gap he can blow out, and it's kind of showing everybody what's capable to follow up with. And so for him, he's just got to knuckle down, put his head down, and this is his kind of all-in moment. What he's hoping for is somebody else can go join him to give him some help. But what's also very interesting to me is Legion not giving that much of a leash.
Yeah.
You think a team that size with that much confidence would give a bigger leash, kind of dare some other teams to go across and have share some workload. But to only give 5 seconds, 7 seconds is a strange tell. You know, other teams in the past, you know, United Healthcare, for instance, be like, one guy, give him 30 seconds. You know, let him have it. You know, we can really save a lot of energy. But to just match him, give him 7 seconds and match, you're still wasting, you know, some energy as Legion.
So if he were to gain a DCC rider or a Blazer or a Butcher Box with some potential, or a Miami Knight, that would be really good for him. But I think he may actually still need a Legion rider in that mix in order for it to have any semblance of hope, or would Legion still stuff it back and try to force a field sprint?
What really puts Legion on the back foot, if there's again, the breakaway is matched by the numbers of Legion, right? So,
Okay.
you know, Legion is pretty happy if it's 3 guys, potentially 4. You start getting 5, 6 riders, and now it's one-on-one versus Legion. That's something they have to be a lot more mindful, a lot more careful of on the leash they give.
Okay. Well, Hernandez's body language is telling me that he is pulling the pin on the effort. Softer on the pedals, taking a drink from the bottle, now checking the shoulders. Sir Michael Hernandez will be returning to the field, and now he's up on the hoods, and he will wait for the reabsorption to occur. A little bit of shuffling of the deck, and we'll see if we have a counterattack by anybody else from the field. Here at Tulsa Tough Blue Dome here tonight. I'm Gabe Lloyd, joined by Daniel Holloway, and this is the first night of racing, which means this is also the American Criterium Cup that is occurring. The St. Francis Health Network bringing us our action here tonight. Big thank you to the St. Francis Health System for making tonight possible, and all of the amazing sponsors that have helped to allow this to be the place to be. I'll tell you what, looking around the course, you can see the crowds that are on the fence, and it is true, ladies and gentlemen. If you did not come to Tulsa tonight, you have most certainly missed out on the best party in bike racing in America this evening, as you have thousands of people here, and we are going to see some
we can really start the wind feeling pick up. The sky's getting darker, but what is interesting, and we're going to see from the USAC officials shortly, is there's lightning in the distance, and if that starts getting too close, you know, we're going to have, you know, that's up to them to call. But you know, as you know, you guys watching, you guys may not be able to see everything we see here, but there's lightning pretty far off, and if that's moving towards us, you know, things may change here. So touch and go. This is information the riders are going to be getting from their director, saying, hey, be heads up, this is what's happening out there. Everything could be changing shortly. We may get a 5 to go, 10 to go way sooner than we anticipate, or you know, we may put the race on pause.
Yeah.
It's happened at Tulsa before, where we've had full rainouts for 2 hours as crazy storms have come through here, you know, like they do this time of the year. So,
okay.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
It can change really fast.
Sometimes I would actually be directed in my day to attack now and try to establish a move before the rain came, so that then you already have a wee bit of an advantage before the turns start to get slick. When the rain first starts to hit is when it is slickest.
It's an ice rink, especially if Tulsa hasn't had rain in, you know, a few weeks. All that grime kind of builds up, sits on the surface, and it takes, you know, 5 or 10 minutes of a good rain to really wash it, and it to be, you know, relatively grippy again, all things considering. And you know, that's just like if everybody's watching Drive to Survive in the Formula 1 stuff, there's a lot of communication of rain in 5, rain in 10, you know, and there's a lot of strategy evolution going on, you know, when to make decisions. And yeah, like you said, there's some directors that are really attentive, saying rain's going to be here in 5 minutes, let's smash, get to the front, string it out. That way when it becomes an ice rink, you know, you're in the best position possible and not taken out by somebody else who's, you know, not accustomed to the situation, or, you know, taken aback by it.
Because midfield becomes super, super dangerous when you have those first 10 minutes of rain. And that's the moment where riders need to start to shuffle themselves to the front to preserve them own selves. It looks like we got a Legion rider coming into the pit here.
Flat tire,
flat
rear wheel.
Tire there.
Tyler Williams.
For Tyler Williams. So Legion down a rider. We'll see if anybody comes in. There we are. Tyler Williams getting a new rear wheel from his team. Not panicked about it in any way, shape, or form. His team there to help him out and put a fresh wheel on the back for Tyler Williams. Williams in a key member of the lead-out train here tonight, so he will be certainly needed to be back in the race in order to execute the full plan.
He's their wild card. He's the guy that can work with Sam, work with Alec, you know, at the front of the race, set the tempo, chase stuff back. But he's also the guy that you don't want an 8-man move. He can, because he'll work it, and he can also, he's really fast.
Yeah.
So he's their joker, you know, in that team, that if people want to get super aggressive and race, you know, he's their one guy that can really match, play tit for tat, and then also be really dangerous if that goes to the line. That's Hernandez and Summerhill going off the front now. 2-up attack. I love these. You know you have somebody with you committed.
Yep.
When you flick that elbow, you know that guy's coming through same pace with the same goal. That's always a great feeling to have, to do double-up attacks. Super popular in Europe. And they're really fun to watch when, you know, especially if you have a couple teams that are willing to do the 2-ups. It could make for some really fun racing.
But we're sort of watching the dynamic there as Hernandez goes back and so there may have been ACC points on the line that we may have missed here in the booth. So there may have been an ACC moment at play there where Summerhill looking to collect some points for his overall standing. But I agree with Daniel. 2-up attacks. When I was on target training way back in the day, that was our move to go to. That was 2-up attacks at races in New England was how we found a lot of success from that program, because we had exactly what you said, a partner in crime. Somebody was deeply committed to rotating and breaking that wind, and then we would have other riders sort of floating in the back, and we were super aggressive as a team, and we'd counter those moves left, right, center until we cracked something off the front. Not seeing that here tonight, but hopefully we will continue to see maybe even some local teams. It was nice to see some of the riders that are a little deeper on our start sheet finding themselves a little bit of daylight between themselves and the front of the field there momentarily. Apologies to those at home who know who they are and saying, why aren't you saying their name? We just couldn't quite get their number, but we did see that happen. We did notice them, and congratulations to them for finding themselves out the front of St. Francis Tulsa Tough.
Yeah, good for them to get, I'm seeing a lot more team organization. Clearly we see Legion at the front, 6 in a row, but you're starting to see 3, 4 riders together at certain parts of the field. That's just teams organized, and they're just comfortable being where they are because they're with friends. They're with their teammates. And you know what? Hey, we're 25th wheel, but we're together. That's fine for us. And when you have 5, 6, 7, 8 teams that are all connected like that, there's kind of this bubble that if you're one of those smaller teams or individual riders, to get through that layer and into the front can be pretty difficult if you're not fully sure how to navigate it. But we're seeing some elbows guys start making their way up to the front. Stephen Roth in the path has been very aggressive.
He posted his social media. This is like his 17th Tulsa Tough. Is that possible? He's been here at every single one?
I believe he is probably one of, or if not the only rider that has been here every year, start to finish.
Oh man, he never ages. This is amazing.
Somebody get him a T-shirt.
Well, we're fully supported. Now look at this DCC coming up over to the top right now, and look at that. Ooh, Elbows and DCC joining forces off the front. We'll see what Elbows has brought to the game here. Our team out of Austin, Texas, always at the forefront of our races. We'll see if we can get themselves a little bit of daylight between field. And look at that. Please rotate. And then Andreas Meyer says, I don't know who you are. I'll just do my own thing.
And that's like a bit aggressive. You take one 18-second turn and all of a sudden you look around and you start waving your hand.
Yeah.
Maybe wait 5, 6 laps before you start, asking for that help.
That was a fellow Gabe out there, Gabe Porterfield, saying, hey, I just pulled for 300 meters. Pull through, please.
Yeah, because, especially with a foreign guy that may not, know everything, you set that body language, that tone, he'd just be like, you know what, I'm out of here. Let's reset. I'll go back and do this with somebody who maybe not be so, posturing so much so early.
Yeah, sometimes you got to play a little poker out there. Look at that. Andreas Meyer's just like, nah, man, I'm good.
Ooh, the puppy dog. Illegal hand position via UCI.
What aerodynamics is he going for right now? Well, it's windy, I suppose, right? Especially at Gabe's race where he's now by himself. Soft pedaling though through right now. He's not putting enough pressure on the pedals. And Andreas Meyer says, I'm out it here. I'm just going to go on back and we're going to reset one more time. 39 minutes into the race. I believe we are under 20 laps to go. Under 20 to go. Last we looked.
And Dar's going to wrap that up and go back to the field and talk to his teammates. There was so much hype with this DCC team. I know they raced really well last weekend. I personally was expecting something maybe a little more aggressive on this opening day.
Yeah, I was too.
But who knows? They may have heard Crybaby's really tough. Tomorrow's tough. Take the first day to suss it out. They may have completely different goals than a lot of other teams. But as a fan and somebody watching, I just want to see. I love when these foreign teams come over here and just race super, super aggressive. You don't catch everybody off guard because that's what you anticipate, but their ability to do it front to back 60 minutes is always so great. Well,
that's the expectation for sure, but I would like to say that Legion has basically been riding the front for 40 minutes, right? We've had a few laps where they haven't, but otherwise, Legion has been leading this thing from the very beginning. What does that mean, Daniel? How can a team lead from first lap to last lap and potentially still get the race win?
Yeah, on this particular course with how it's shaped, the corners, we did add an extra block, but they still come pretty quick. When you have 6 guys lined out there, we can see, they can occupy the middle third of this course relatively easy. So they only have to move over, not that much to, kind of, quote, block the road. It takes a very, determined, organized team to come all the way over the top, to kind of disrupt this. And, it's complacency from the other teams, and it's, these guys on this course to be able to defend.
So we'll see what happens as we get ourselves deeper into this race. Corey is there, Justin is back at the tail end of this mix, and Alec Cohen now setting the tempo as we can see in our lower third, as we have Ty there and Sam Boardman also up near the front. Sam's really basically been riding third wheel this entire race. Looking for a little bit of aggression on the outside there as they come up over the top, looking for an inside line as they come around the construction. We'll get some eyeballs as they exit that corner, and that is going to be our Castillo. Interesting decision to put in an effort there, frankly. Like, why?
Good question. A seated thing just to kind of get to the front is, was he expecting to have teammates with him? They got knocked off, or was he, sometimes if you're on the right side of the field and the rest of your team is to the left, sometimes it is easier to do the big effort, go around the front, when you're one of the kind of the better guys in the field, to just go around the front of the race onto the left side instead of trying to just like merge through the middle of that field. Yeah, just kind of easier way. So that's maybe what he was doing.
Yeah, potentially. I like looking deeper into the race a little bit sometimes as well, looking at the seeing what the dynamic is further back. And to me, it looks like you still have pretty comfortable riders at the back as they come by us here at the pit right now, looking at the back third of the event. A few riders are no longer able to maintain the pace, but overall, guys are still taking sips of water. Their body posture is not hunkered down, right? They're not like desperately trying to hang on to the hub in front of them.
It's very much school of fish.
Yeah.
Towards the middle and back, it's just 5 to 8 guys wide, and they're all just kind of flowing together. We're not seeing gaps crack, and that's hard to do when you just set one tempo. Everybody can just kind of find their wheel. You stop fighting and spending energy. If the race was really on-off, like you saw in the women's race, you could just see that elastic get stretched in.
Yeah.
If you're the back 10 guys and a gap opens and you're already on your limit and you're looking around, you're all in the same boat, with holes in it. Who's going to rotate? Who's going to help close that? You're all kind of dead in the water. We saw that in the women's race. But here, the race hasn't been really stretched out or the pace gone on and off that much to test it. But now we see the Blazers coming to the front, and actually when we get these extended shots, the pace, they have lifted the pace. It's starting to stretch out, and we're just getting lap cards with 17 to go.
17 laps remaining on our course here tonight, and the Miami Blazers, or Blazers as they're called now, are now on the front of the field. Let's see who they brought to the game here as the McNally's Group Blue Dome event. Miami Blazers for the first time putting themselves up to the front of the race.
Austin Aviator rider getting up there too in the mix-up. And if other teams can really see this, that we have Blazers, Austin Aviators, and other teams just join up in there, Legion can find themselves 20, 30 riders back. And as a collective looking at that, that's what you want to do. You want to try to push Legion far back, start attacking, get them on the back foot, gaps open, and really start to put pressure on. They've got to come from 30th wheel and start closing gaps rather than, they put a team like this in front of them and then the Blazers or Legion's just going to come right back around and be in a controlling position. So other teams really have to join Blazers. The DCC rider here and Connor Solly from the Aviators. We have Noah Granigan, it looks like, from Disruptors. So more of their teammates have to get up there really quickly and start, pushing Legion back naturally, because Legion's going to want to stay together.
Yep.
But you can see Alex is, probably got the call, hey, move the team up. And he's going to go out the side. Tyler Williams going to jump on his wheel and start moving that squad up.
But Blazers are really going to try to bring it to it right now. I think that we're seeing Tanner potentially from Blazers lifting the tempo. You got your German national champion, Jonas Schumacher, in the front as well, sort of rotating in the mix. The back of that Blazers train, you had both Estevez and Fury. So very early. Of course, this is not a lead out by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a test, right? It's a test to see if they can affect this race in any way, shape, or form. Looking at the back third of the race, some gaps are starting to open.
Yeah, we can really see Blazers is up the pace. This is going from that school of fish of 5 to 8 guys in the middle, going out towards, it's single file, till about 25 back, and it's starting to get, only 2 wide, 3 wide, as guys really have to fall in line to get in the draft to save that energy. So Blazers can't be disrupted by Alex, being there, or the ACC rider. That's just he's there. He's German. Not because he's German, but the German rider he saw it instantly happen. It's like boom, I can go right here, and he's saving energy. He's floating. He's not having to fight with anybody behind Legion. He's placed himself in a really good position to not fight. And I could easily watch him if he needs to, just take one turn and find himself back into a safe space. But as of now, those 3 guys in front of him are rotating happily. The Blazers, 3 Blazers behind him. He's not interrupting what they're doing. And if they feel like he's, in the way, they'll just go up and say, kind of give him the look. Well, he'll recognize a familiar jersey and likely kind of give them some space.
I don't know, man. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, I'm watching Alec just sort of chill here, second wheel. He's already forced Blazers to skip pulls and disrupt the rotation. And he's doing what you were talking about at the beginning of the broadcast here for our pro men, where, remember we were talking about Justin being really far back. He goes on the radio and says, just ease off the pedals a smidge and I'll be up at the front. Alec is doing that right now, in a way. His disruption, he's just checking the shoulder. Look at his body language.
But Alex he's taking turn for turn. Whatever Blazers paces can do, he's going to match it. He's got that ability. But what he's doing is he's placing a blue jersey in a place where other blue jerseys can come to.
Okay.
And it's not that they're going to get on his wheel. He's going to open the gap in front for, Tyler Williams to get in front of.
Okay.
For Ty Magner to get in front of. And all of a sudden, before you know it, the blue guys will be back together. See, here's Corey.
Yeah.
Boom. Hey, blue jersey, back together. Because as I was saying earlier, it's very hard for 6 guys to really come over the top. So, Legion's coming over in 1s and 2s to a friendly,
cool.
and then all of a sudden they're going to line back up, and we're going to see 6 blue jerseys in a row back in control.
Yeah, I mean, Spencer and Tanner have been on the front for quite a long time. It's way too long, especially with this wind. I guess I would have expected shorter, faster pulls at the front if the expectation was to really shred something off the front. As it stands right now, I mean, he's doing a nice job rotating at the front here, but I mean, Tanner Ward for Blazers, he's now been on the front for at least 3 laps, and
and he's their Sam Boardman or Alex Cowan rider, right? If we're going to go match teams, right? That's what his role is going to be: is to take these big long turns up the pace, and at 14 to go, you kind of want to move the pace from the last one and increase it by 5K an hour into this is now the speed for the next part of the race, and it's only going to get faster from here on out. So that's what the Blazers have done.
Okay.
Saying Legion set this pace, we're going to up it, and that way there's going to be less swarming, anything happen going to the finish. Now the Blazers are in their position they want to be in. The pace is up, and it's going to be harder for other teams to get to the front, or they're going to spend so much energy to get there that it's going to be easier to maintain their spot.
yeah, it's just interesting watching sort of that field dynamic and not seeing other teams like Miami Knights really we haven't talked about them at all. I mean, I just saw Clever roll by. He looked comfortable, but I wonder what their play is tonight.
Be really patient. It's like, hey, we have to pick our moment from 5 to 3 to go, and when we're going to do it, we're in. There's no messing about. There's no tempo. There's no soft pedaling, trying to find how do we extend this. It's 3 laps, all out, do everything you can as long as you can.
Okay.
That could be their tactic. And the problem is if you have 2 or 3 times, two or three teams trying to do that, it's who gets there first. Because if you do that, and Legion's lined up like this, and Blazers lined up like this, now you're 4 teams back, and what are you going to do? 70K an hour for 3 laps to get back into position?
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
I mean, Van Riesberg from Denver Disruptors wearing the South African National Champions jersey. I mean, he was in the World Tour last year, racing for Lotto Soudal, and before that he was on Team Quebec. So, I mean, that guy certainly has the horsepower to just ride. I mean, this is a 0.7K lap. So, for him, I mean, he's used to doing 3K lead-outs kind of.
Or 1K at 1,000 watts.
Right.
Where his size might be a little bit more.
Right.
But is he can do that, but can his teammates do it? You know, can the guy that needs to be following him also match that? Well, that's the finesse.
Sergio Haneo certainly could do that. Noah Granigan has been really up and coming. He's won some jerseys at Tour of Turkey over the past few years. So I do think that team in particular has the ability to ride something real fast for a 3-lap effort, but
they got to do it together. Noah's my guy. He's really fast, but in 60 minutes, there's not enough general fatigue in the field for him to really shine. That's where you would expect to see more of Van Rensburg probably. That's just kind of where the difference comes in at this level or this distance of a race. I think we're going to see more of Noah on a course tomorrow, or even Crybaby Hill, where the fatigue really kind of sets in. That's where Noah becomes really fast. Yeah, I mean, in our intro today, we talked about the elevation shift on the finishing straight, but we're talking 4% at the kick. Yep. That's, I mean, for all intents and purposes, these guys at this speed are sort of cruising up that, right? And if you're able to keep your momentum, you just kind of flow up. Where it really stings is if you're out there by yourself, 3, 4, 5 laps later, you don't have anybody to help carry momentum up that hill. It really starts to wear on you.
All right, well, Corey Williams is with the gold helmet at the end of that train right now. My man Connor Sally right behind him. Connor now a local rider here in Tulsa. He's won a number of notable races in his day, but the wheel they're fighting for right now is that GoPro with the gold helmet of Corey Williams. A lot of fighting going on right now.
Yes, you're really starting to jockey for position, kind of claim your stake, and it's kind of a battle of wills. And you need to be in position that way. If and when a team just decides to go full, you're in position to match it, and not be too far back when that pace hits, and you just can't make up ground no matter how strong you are.
Yeah, sure. Well, the team of Corey and Justin Williams at the front right now. Alec Cohen doing what he does best, which is just sort of setting some tempo. And you're looking at that washing machine effect right behind. So last, half lap, I was talking about how Connor was on the wheel of Corey. And then all of a sudden, Connor is now 7 wheels back from Corey.
Yeah, you can see he doesn't have any teammates around. So when you don't have any teammates, you don't have any help protecting spot.
Yeah.
So when Blazers is there, shows up as a team, and they all kind of, quote, work against you, it's not worth the energy to continue to fight. But we see Dante Young, the 4th wheel of the Blazers. You can see him talking to his teammates, and he's kind of road captaining. He's communicating what the sprinter is telling him out towards the front of the chain.
Yep.
And now you see Van Rensburg with the disruptors really starting to captain that team into position. Again, like in the women's race, what I would really love to see is teams ride next to Legion. Make sure that say, hey, teams are here, and they have to ride faster and faster and faster. Again, right now, Borden's really comfortable. Tyler Williams is really comfortable. Alex Callan's really comfortable. But if you start right next to them, they have to ride faster to maintain position.
Yep.
Corey's going to be saying, hey, guys, I don't like this. Get me out of here. Get me out of here. And they have to accelerate. If you match it, you really start wearing out the train. That's something we did at Altabello against the Blue Train, way back in the day. Aldo said, hey, look, we can't just sit on the train and fight. We got to ride next to him, make him start riding faster, longer, and that's how we're going to beat him. And once we kind of perfect that as a small squad, game changed. They never kind of faced that adversity, and that's what these teams now that we can see can clearly ride together, ride 5, 6 in a row. They need to start riding next to the Legion train, not behind it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing I'm seeing as well, that we got the pink helmets of Blazers, we got the DCC shoulders in there, just riding next to each other. We've got to start to do some drag racing here, as you were just talking about, in order to really affect it. Here it comes. We got the Miami Knights coming up right next to it. Maybe they're listening to you talk to them in the broadcast here tonight, because we may start to see a little bit of drag racing coming up and around with the Knights starting to bring it with Gomez. Now we're looking at almost single digits for our race. That is Brian Gomez. In fact, with the white, he's checking the shoulders. Gomez, one of the most powerful riders in our field here tonight. And let's look and see if we can.
Alfredo and Clever
Martinez is right there. Clever, oh man, Clever raced at the Velodrome last week in T-Town, and Clever did this like seated acceleration that was just unreal, man. Like, Clever's got some real good leg speed right now, real good power. He also raced with us at Easton Twilight Grid and Tour of Somerville, and man, he was just in control. So I really love to see what Clever can do tonight, even if he's working for somebody else like Alfredo. Rodriguez, as long as he doesn't sit up too soon, you know, they could have themselves a good finish.
Yeah, and not to play on his name, but Clever is a clever rider. There's been a lot of time racing against him both on the track, and in these crits. He doesn't have these massive powers. He's a smaller guy, but he's really efficient. He knows really when to move, how to move, and it can just be so unassuming because of the size of him. So it's really cool, and that's a really key player for that Miami Knights team, for a guy to be in that position to just be able to move around with ease like that.
So we have a little bit of action on the front of the race from our German national champion. It sounds like we got ourselves a little bit of little fun stuff happening here locally that we're going to be letting you know about here in a second. Our big ride, Ghostland Observatory with sports and DJ Ecog live at Cannabis, Saturday, June 10th. So if you're here in Tulsa, I guess that's the place to be. You know where you're going to find me, Daniel? At the
Cannabis?
Cannabis. That's where I'm going to be. That looks fun. Look at the stars coming out of the skulls. That means fun is happening off the charts. Make sure you get yourself there Saturday, June 10th. That's tomorrow night, after party, presented by Flywheel. Thank you guys for supporting the Tulsa Tough. Can't wait to see you guys at the Ghostland Observatory tomorrow night. This is Friday night, though, right now for our Tulsa Tough Blue Dome event. Big thanks to St. Francis Health System for being the presenting sponsor.
And we can see the paces come up. Like, it's ballooned out. We're getting that school of fish again. It's back to being 3, 4, 5 wide, especially as we get towards the middle of the field. So Legion's back on the front. The paces kind of come down a bit after a little bit of shuffling. And all that's needed is arresting. These other teams really need to be attentive, see this, and begin to challenge them at this 10 to go. As we see from start, we've seen these guys right in the front. So fatigue does accumulate,
right?
But now they really need to test them. Now they need to be at above threshold and really testing, these first 3 riders from Legion that have been riding.
Yeah, I mean, I actually thought we were seeing that as we were going into the concert information there, because we had the German national champion from Schirmeisler of VCC come into the front there in Miami Knights. We got real excited talking about Clever there for a hot minute, and the pink helmets of Miami Blazers were starting to put themselves there. I also now see the blue helmets of American Cycling coming to the front with our man Danny Summerhill, who has enormous potential here.
Hernandez, ooh, big crash.
Oh boy.
This is 8 to go. I'm not sure if there's free laps, where this is going to lie, but we see Castillo on there, a lot of individual riders. German rider on the far left on the sidewalk walking off. Iman Lucas has been caught up in this, American Cycling rider. So this is why you kind of try to ride as a team towards the front and avoid these things. So some of these riders, that's Dante Young.
Yeah, is that Brendan Fury? Wow.
Now you guys have conversations of who did what, why.
So Jamie Castaneda is the one talking to them.
If they're, no offense, but if you're not bleeding heavily, these guys just need to be attentive and start to get themselves out of the way and off the course. And a lot of these guys just standing around is going to have an impact. That's Summer. Is that Summer? No, that's not Summerhill.
No, here comes a crash.
From the inside.
Yep.
Oh, right there.
Ooh, overlap of wheels. Front third of the race too, like just sort of the weird, awkward moment of the washing machine.
Or a Blazers rider that might have been the first one, but you can see an American Cycling rider.
Yeah.
Waving his hand as what was happening there. But
let's see if we get guys into the pit here. Looks like our field is all regrouping as we come back. Now I'm not sure if we have the opportunity for a rejoin here, because generally 7 to go you shut the pit, but our officials now telling these riders who are ready to jump in to walk themselves to a different place on the course. We'll keep you guys informed as we see it, but right now on the screen we got Denver Disruptors on I believe, trying to really upend the momentum here. I don't know if any of the Legion riders are actually affected by that race, but this is going to be really tricky for these guys being thrown back in to the field here. They're thrown in at a very short moment on the course where riders are transitioning from turning right to turning left. So we'll see how that plays out. Alec Cohen on the front right now on screen. Sam Boardman, second wheel. These guys have about a half a lap before they're going to start to see the rejoining of a number of riders who are currently in neutral pit, getting themselves sorted. Looks like you will see the rejoin by these riders who were in that crash. Rider number 9, Hassani Hennis, the Anguillan national champion, involved in that crash. There we have some eyes now on the pit. You can see all these riders. Now this is it. The pit will be shut after this, so any rider who is not thrown in at this point in time will not be permitted to enter the race. So anybody who needs some further assistance they'll be going to Sound Pony a little bit early tonight.
Gonna beat that weight. Gets busy there.
Here comes our lead Audi coming through, our lead motos, and that means that the race is now here. Here we go. We got our Sam Boardman on the front, and there they go. They throw them in, and our pit is now being executed. Looks like we got a Denver Disruptor in the pit very late in the game. Is that Noah? Oh no, Noah Granigan, one of the best finishers for Denver Disruptors, now in the pit. I don't know if he can get back in, but we'll see.
It depends if the officials, moto officials, going to relay a lot of people that were involved in that, and if he's got a bike mechanical that was caused by that, Noah may have followed the rule and rode with the course to get back to the pit.
Okay.
Some of these other guys who's clearly in corner 3 rushed backwards to get here. So, if he did the right thing and went the right direction, he's likely not to be penalized for it. But we just have to see if the bike gets back in order and kind of what the officials will have to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, Castillo's still in the in the pit as well, man. He's been there for a while. Hassani does not look like he will be returning to the pit. A number of other riders are going to be rejoining. So I stand corrected. I don't know. I guess rules are interpretive here. So the pit is shut, but we're still seeing some riders being thrown back in. Noah Granigan will be returning to the race here. That's good news for Denver Disruptors.
And 7 laps is not a lot of time, but there's still time for a guy like Noah, crafty guys, to get integrated, take a deep breath, and just start picking their way through the field.
Okay. Let's see what goes. The guys are going to be given the all clear here out of the pit. They're being hold. And there it is. There's the release. These guys are on the pedals. They're going to try to jump in here, get into the slipstream as quickly as they can, because this train is moving. On the front, you've got Legion of Los Angeles and defending champion Ty Magner on the front right now, working in the rotation, which tells me that Justin Williams or Corey Williams are their protected riders.
I think Corey for sure, just where he's been riding.
Okay.
Justin's been, thereabout. Again, he can just, things happen, and he's just potentially just a body, to help keep Corey out of danger. We see it in the World Tour a lot where, you see Chris Froome riding in the middle of this train, and they're putting bodies between, his back wheel and potential danger. So
Justin's an amazing sweeper. Once he needs to put himself there, he will start sweeping wheels left and right off of Corey if that is, in fact, the plan. Again, Justin rides his own discipline, rides his own race. If he's having a little bit of an off night, he knows how to have the fastest slow race possible for himself. And then when he needs to be present, he will become present. Meanwhile, at the front, Sam Boardman is there looking back. We're seeing the DCC Alpecin shoulders of that German squad coming up. I'd love to see them start to challenge and do a bit of drag racing. But here
they are. They're moving up next to the train, right?
Yep.
They're getting next to Corey, making him uncomfortable. Corey's relaying that up to his guys. Hey, faster. Get them away from me by increasing the pace. And that's what you want. You want to make Corey uneasy. You want to make that front train ride faster than they want to this far from the finish line. I like what Butcherbox is doing. They're organized. They're getting Ryan up there in a good position. They've been pretty ominous so far this race, but for such a team we don't talk about much, they're doing a really good job getting themselves in a really good position at a really good time.
It's a matter of whether or not they can put this effort in at the right time. We're actually at 4 laps to go in this race at the moment. The guys, now look at the chins of the riders on the front. Left, right. They're checking, because they know that they're being infiltrated. They know that the teams are coming up on the hips. Look at DCC. Corey is now out of the saddle with that gold helmet, trying to insert himself back onto his own train wheel. Now, the Germans have just, sportsmanship, right? They're going to potentially allow Corey back onto that wheel. We got to see when they're going to really challenge it. 3.5 laps now to go. This is when the drag race begins. The Germans have that horsepower, we think.
Yep.
It's the way yet to see if they can actually execute. Big pinch point.
And then we're seeing 4 to go, and Corey's only got 3 guys. This is a long way. This is going to really test their depth for Boardman, Alec, and it looks like Ty Magner. It looks like we have lost, Tyler Williams in some fashion here. So
yeah, I don't see Tyler anywhere.
And we've lost Boardman, so now we've got
no.
3.5 to go with just 2 guys. This is where communication is key. This is more, potentially Justin is reading the race from 15th wheel, saying, hey, we've got 2. How do we selectively give this up? How do we pass the baton to the Germans, call bluff, get somebody else to do it?
Yeah.
We just have to see, how it plays out. But right now, it's not falling into Legion's hands. And now Corey's opening the gap, potentially on purpose, to get riders in between him and his guys to create more lead out. Right. So we'll see how that plays.
But look
that may be too far back.
Yeah, look how far back he went. I mean, Corey is now 15, maybe 12 wheels back. Let's look for that gold helmet. There he is. Oh my goodness.
He's continuing to go backwards.
What is going on with Corey?
Yeah. So now, now it's on Ty, right? Ty's got to be like, hey, it's me, and feather it. And now he's just got one guy to shepherd him. But, if there's a guy that can float, it's Ty.
Wow.
And just because he's got one guy left, he's staying calm, he's resting, he's not fighting for anything, quite yet. And as soon as Alex pulls off, he's going to find a wheel and start to surf. But we do have Justin. Justin's still present.
Justin's present.
10, 15 wheels behind. And there's not other organized teams except for DCC and maybe Butcherbox. So
I'm seeing Miami Nice though. Like Brian Gomez is talking to Clever. Clever is talking back. These guys have a bit of a plan.
And American Cycling right in front of Justin Williams. Summerhill leading. Hernandez.
We got a lot of fast finishers in the mix here right now.
Noah, look at that.
Noah's back.
I tell you, plenty of time for a guy like that to find himself back onto his lead-out guy,
Where's the rest of them, though? I mean, Noah's by himself right now.
Yeah, this course, this thing, if a guy like High now and some of these other guys that aren't used to this,
I guess,
can be expending energy and they're not realizing it. And then all of a sudden, this pace picks up, and they're like, oh, crap, I'm depleted.
Justin coming through right now. Williams is now your rider to watch for Legion of Los Angeles. He is surfing other trains. We're looking at 2 laps to go in the contest. 2 laps remaining.
And Alec is just gritting his teeth. This is just all in, and he's got to commit. Magner is, checking the Jumbotron like a professional without fully looking behind. He can just peek up at the Jumbotron, get an idea of the lineup behind him. And it's really interesting to see, is he floating or is he just going to put the pace on? And, Justin said, hey, I'm 8th, I'm good to go. Another big crash, American Cycling rider.
Yep. American Cycling rider back down in the back of the field.
Another large crash.
This is it for those guys. Those guys are going to Sound Pony right now because this race is over for them. Who's in there?
He's throwing some swings against another
Travieso is in there. So, all right, so we've lost a few finishers in the mix. I don't know if that's Alfredo, actually. Let's look at the front of the race. Ty Magner is there. He's your defending champ. You got the Germans right behind. We're going to be coming into 1 lap to go here momentarily. This race is just shattered, and here comes Brian Gomez with Clever Martinez.
Justin is still there on Summerhill. Again, as we saw, it's a long lap. That extra block has added an extra dimension to the longevity of the lead out here, that Justin may have found himself in a really good position by reading this race really, really well.
1 lap to go, and look at this. Justin may have pulled off what he's doing. Ty Magner is on the front. He is going to drive this as hard as he can. Your defending champion now riding for his man. He does not know where his man is specifically, but he knows that Justin has the potential. Ty swings off. He looks over. He sees Justin at about 8th wheel. Justin can still get this, but look at the effort. Brian Gomez is drilling at Clever Martinez, 2nd wheel, and then you've got your DCC team right behind. Is this too early, Daniel?
No. Alfredo has put the 2 Germans in between himself, and he's reading it.
Yeah.
And he's a rider that can go long. We saw him do Sunny King. He made a bluff, or he boofed it by celebrating too early, but that's a really long, hard sprint, and he's capable of doing it, but he's fighting himself back up to Clever's wheel.
Wow, this race is split. Clever is there. Alfredo is right behind the German national champion there. These guys are fighting for every inch they can. Summerhill now coming out on the outside as seeing if he can get himself around. Danny is looking really strong. What do you think, Daniel?
So that was corner 6. We're going into corner 7 with Clever. Rodrigo's in a really good spot. Summerhill Justin's coming underneath. But Butcherbox, is that Jazz Strap?
Uh-huh. Yeah, and
what a move.
Kalaba, Dusan Kalaba is coming up and around. This is the final kick to the line. Final 100 meters as we come
Justin,
out.
here comes Justin.
Justin on the outside. He's up next to Danny Summerhill. Justin is coming up and around, and Justin Williams, ladies and gentlemen, repeats as a champion here on Friday night at Blue Dome with Tulsa Tough, showing us how it is won.
And I mean, Justin, full credit. Being patient, reading the race, understanding the course, you know, and that could have been just played. Hey guys, do the lead out. Don't panic. I'm just gonna sit back. You know, don't worry about it. And that was just really class riding.
Wow.
And some of these other teams could have said, you know, Legion's fallen apart, out of sight, out of mind, and kind of forgot about Justin. And that can leave the door open for him to pull him over like that. So that was just, I mean, hands down, great riding by Justin.
Amazing, so amazing. You see that chain he's wearing tonight? It's the King. That's a King chain.
There we go.
Yeah, that's amazing to see.
But if you put $100 on Danny Summerhill to make the podium again, you've probably made a lot of money, because that's what Summerhill's doing this year. He's putting himself on the podium over and over and over again.
Yeah, so we're like Justin Williams, Dusan Kabala, and Danny Summerhill unofficially on your podium. That's just two guys watching a bike race doing that result. Amazing. Oh, look at that. That's an amazing moment right there. That's cool. That's sportsmanship. These two guys have a little bit of negative history together, and that hug just shows that we are all sportsmen here. We are all in this together. You know, these guys are all friends when it comes to the end of the bike race. Everybody's celebrating the fact that Justin Williams, champion here tonight. Fierce competitors when we are counting down the laps, but when the race is over, these guys are all friends. Despite the social media rumors that you may hear about these guys, they all do have mad respect for each other, and they do all celebrate each other's successes.
Yeah, when you do it like that, there's just nothing. There's nothing.
That's
you
nothing
do.
but
That's
respect,
just,
man.
Yeah, the way he did that was, you know, very impressive, and adds just to his pedigree and his lore, you know, as a crit racer in North America. Oh man, it's so cool to see. That was just great bike racing overall. I mean, I think we talked a lot about teamwork, team dynamics, etc. But when it came down to it, these guys knew themselves, and I really appreciate that discipline and that awareness. You know, Daniel, you and I talk a lot about how you as an athlete, when you've won these races in the past, you had so much awareness of what was happening around you. That was displayed here tonight with Justin and a lot of the other, you know, frankly, a lot of riders, I thought. You know, I thought we saw some really good bike racing overall. Yeah, totally. And again, it's just like, you know, I probably would have read the race very similar to Justin. That extra block added can really change the dynamic of the race. There's more pedaling going on than you kind of would assume or be led to believe. And that can just wear and wear and wear. And that's what we saw kind of happen to their train fall apart. And even, like I said, some of those later trains that popped up and tried to exist were probably caught off guard with the length of that total lead out, and may have gone a little too early, where if they could have just taken a deep breath, they might have, you know, something might have happened a little bit different. And I think we have Noah Granigan coming up here to talk to us a little bit about his view of the race here.
Okay, cool. Well, we're going to do a little bit of reset here, and then we'll get Noah involved with I'm going to jump off here. Noah's going to jump on with the audio. You want to talk to him?
How you doing, Noah?
I'm all right.
Yeah, healthy. You see we're a little skin missing, and that's 8-9 to go crash. Walk us through that. What exactly happened there? We only got like a small replay, but what was your perspective in the field that happened there?
Yeah, Legion had pretty good handle on things, and that was kind of right when it got pretty chaotic. No one really had control, and it was kind of a lull in the pace. Everyone's kind of looking around, and a big, you know, swarm of dudes, like 20 dudes just coming up the inside trying to fit.
Yeah, that's
trying to fit through the fencing there, and it's just too many bodies for how little space was there. And then all of a sudden, yeah, there's all of us are on the ground and scrambling, trying to get to the pit so we can get back in.
Yeah. Gabe kind of pointed that out, that if there's a lull, that swarm can kind of happen. Disruptors, new team on the program. You got some Euros, you got some Colombians, you got some World Tour riders coming. What's it like sharing the same team, same jersey with those guys, and bringing them into this crit world in this racing dynamic?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. We got riders from multiple continents coming in with World Tour stage wins, like winning Paris-Nice, like Sergio Henao, and the South African champ with Reinhard and Oscar as well. So we got like a good group of experience, but they're kind of new to the American crit scene, and so kind of just kind of meld that experience with just racing at such a high level with experience here in the crit scene, and hoping to improve through the weekend.
Next two courses, as we know, get kind of harder and harder. I think that's where we're going to see some of you guys, start to thrive and stuff. Can you give us some insight of what you guys plan on doing? It seemed like a lot of the teams are pretty mellow today. Are we going to see some more aggressive tactics as the days progress? What kind of insight can you give us?
Yeah, today is such a fast day. It's just seeing the wheels going so fast. So I think the harder the race is, the better it suits our team. So we're definitely excited for the next few days.
Great. Heal up. Sorry to see you went down, but take care of yourself, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Yep. And so we got Justin here talking with the fans, saying what's up to the kids, that came out and supported him. It's just amazing that, this sport allows these fans to get on course in the action, right away and take photos with, the riders winning the race and Justin. And a little earlier on the stream, on the course, we saw Justin hugging his dad, who has been just, paved the way for Justin and his brothers to start this sport, and has been, with him the whole time. So I've experienced to have your parents around when you're at these races having success. So that was super cool to see him be able to hug his dad.
Got over Sean Bahati.
One of the most exciting races you're going to find in American sports right here happens to be a black kid from Los Angeles, named his team after the street that he grew up on, and I know all about it, Legion of LA. Justin Williams, take me through the middle of the race first, and then we're going to talk about the end of the race.
Yeah, no, it was a pretty aggressive race. There's some pretty amazing teams out here. So you have the German team that has the German national champion, super strong, very good at riding together. You have both of the NCL teams, very strong. You have ACG, really strong guys. They know what they're doing. They're leading the series. And it was going to be a battle the whole day. You also have teams like Butcher Box out here that they know how to play their game. So they typically wait and wait and wait. So we took the front because we figured it'd be safer in the middle of the race. This course is pretty hectic. It's a little bit longer now out of turn 2 to turn 3. And that makes it a little bit more technical because people have more time to run up on the side of you. So we're dealing with that all night. We're trying to be patient and let teams come around and then reform at the front together. Our team is really strong, man. Like, they're riding at the front without me. I love being in the shit, excuse my language. So I love it when it's really choppy and people are running into each other. I can really choose my line and hold momentum. So I just kept doing that, and whenever we lose the front, I just take my time and get back to the front, and then, so that was the middle of the race.
So we talked about you starting in the very front and just kind of checking things out and then moving towards, I don't know, maybe about 30 riders back, just to conserve. Is that accurate?
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. That's the sweet spot. It's the most dangerous spot a lot of the times, but it's a sweet spot. Teams are riding a bit aggressive on our team, so I went to the front end and did some sweeping and got everything under control as I do.
I tell you what, you had everyone confused. Your brother Corey is absolute nation's #1 beast. He smashes it. He won a race last week. You're not riding in the front. Everyone's scratching their head, trying to figure out what's going on. Towards the end of the race, the lead out gets kind of disrupted by so many teams. Your lieutenant stayed the course, stayed on the front, keeping the pace high, and you just methodically work your way back to the front. Take us to the last 2 laps.
I mean, I learned that from Rasan Bahati, this man.
Okay, interview's over. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I grew up racing with Rasan, and he always told me to pick the most fastest, efficient line. And I only got like 3 weeks of training in Tulsa. I do a lot with running the teams that we own, so Miami, Austin, and Legion of Los Angeles. So I have to be very, very efficient with my training time. I got a little training camp in before. Last week I felt pretty good, spent 80 laps in the breakaway, which is not like me at all. And so I knew I would have decent legs today, but the way that the speed lifts at this race is so violent, I just wanted to stay in that top 30, pick my lines, and at the end, man, this is what I do. I'm a gamer, so it doesn't matter how much training I got. If I see the line, it's over.
We call that 5-lap fever, and you've had it for a long time. Justin Williams, Legion of Los Angeles, day one, Tulsa Tough winner. Congratulations.
Oh, amazing interview there by Rasan Bahati, mentor to Justin Williams, who took the race here tonight. Now I am here with Chris Dolly, the strongest man in the
People's champ, baby.
The People's Champion here tonight. Chris, you had a little bit of bad luck here at the end of the night. You're standing here with your Allied bike that is
snapped.
It's snapped.
Yeah, it's snapped. We got a few other things wrong with it. No fault of its own. It's what happens? 2 laps to go. Bunch of people piled up in this last corner, or I don't know what corner that was. I'm still a little shaken up.
Gotcha.
But yeah, you just run into somebody at 30-something miles an hour and you go down. Fortunately, all my skin's here, so that's good. Yeah,
great. We'll
solid.
take that. We'll take that. I'm sorry for the bike. We'll hopefully get you a fresh one here so you can round out the weekend.
Hopefully, baby.
We'll see what happens. So walk us through what your experience was in the race field tonight. Like, what was your perspective of the dynamic?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, in comparison to the, I think, 6 or so Tulsa Toughs I've done, this definitely felt a lot faster and a lot more aggressive than in recent years.
Okay.
Especially towards the end, it started getting a little crashy, a little chaotic, but maybe just the spot I was a little like behind everything, trying to shake out my legs, and yeah, but it was still a lot of fun. A lot of new teams here too. I mean, the German team seemed like a powerhouse team.
Talk to us a little bit about where you were actually riding, because Daniel and I during the broadcast were talking about the difference between riding like front third versus middle third versus back third.
Oh yeah, definitely back third. I was like observing, seeing what's going on. I was like, well, there's usually like 7 crashes, and I'm like, I'll just make up some spots here. And unfortunately, I was involved in one of those, so it happens.
Okay, sorry to hear. So form and fitness was all right. Form and fitness was all right for tonight?
Yeah, no, I felt great. You know, lungs, legs, everything was there. It was just unfortunately some bad luck, but that's crit racing. You know, you could be super solid and then all of a sudden, boom.
Boom. All right, Chris. Well, thank you for coming up. Thank you for telling us how your day was. Sorry to see this, but hopefully we'll see you another time.
I will be back, America.
We're going to go over to podiums right now for our pro women and our pro men.
Arms up in the air, your champions, the 19-year-old Olivia Cummins in front of Paulo Munoz and Sam Schneider. It's your Tulsa Tough 1, 2, and 3. With our top 3, they can remain on the podium because they are going to be our top 3 for our Omnium as well. Race number 1 is done. Picking up the most points, Olivia Cummins with 31 points. In second place with 27 points, that will be Paulo Munoz. And Sam Schneider picking up third with 24 points. Your Omnium for day number 1 of St. Francis Tulsa Tough.
Olivia Cummins taking the win here with Paulo Munoz in second and Sam Schneider in third. As we noted in the broadcast, Kendall Ryan did come across the line first, but we are being told that she was relegated for that move before the final turn number 8. We saw her come across. Daniel and I reacted to that move that she hooked Olivia pretty hard, as it were. So. And so Olivia now getting herself all situated. We're going to come ourselves, get our men's podium back around here.
and your rider. She had the lead coming in with 155 points. She picks up more points and keeps her lead. Your overall leader, Andrea Sear.
And this is our ACC podium. Dr. Andrea Sear is your leader, with Paula Munoz now in second and Alexis Ryan now in third. This is our ACC podium overall. Great to see you, Dr. Andrea Sear, holding on.
But as we can see with Kendall's relegation from tonight's result, Legion has now lost that 2-4 position in the ACC over to Shuffles. Not quite sure what 4-5 looks like, but that as ACC races move forward, they don't have that deck of cards to play as much as they did kind of going into tonight. As we move into future races, that can help Andrews here maintain that or not have as much pressure from one team that has that many riders stacked into position.
So the ACC podium now complete. I believe we'll now be moving on to our men's podium here tonight. Welcome to our broadcast. I'm Gabe Lloyd. This is Daniel Holloway. We've been calling the action for you guys all night long. It's been a great night of racing overall. We're super excited to be here at Blue Dome. So many great moments are happening throughout the night, Daniel, with our women's races that we just did the podiums for. A lot of aggressive tactics through and through. So great to see that at the front of our women's peloton.
Yeah, the women's race, it did honestly start a little slow. The action was slow, but it built up. We saw some teams really kind of putting themselves out there, testing some tactics. I really like Miami Knights, just throwing some shots, seeing what they can get to sick. DNA was really reactive. And we saw Legion, they're professional at keeping their composure, doing really what they know how to do. In the moment, I think, Kendall kind of ended up making a bad decision and got called for it, and that put DNA on the top of the podium. I think that's going to do two things. It's going to light a fire under Kendall 100%, but also say, hey, I don't want to leave it that close anymore. We are not going to, we're going to go harder, earlier, and not leave the chance, not give anybody the opportunity to potentially come underneath us like what happened tonight.
In the post-race interview with Kendall, she was talking about how she saw Olivia coming and sort of, not necessarily panicked, but she changed tactic immediately. They were riding for Sam, so Kendall was actually the sweep, and Sam was supposed to be the protected sprinter in that moment, but as she said to, I believe, Rasan in the post-race, that tactic changed there immediately. Unfortunately, she's now being relegated. Kimberly Lucy holds on to the sprint points for the ACC, so she will hold on to that green jersey.
Yeah, DNA did a really good job protecting that jersey. I think using their energy wisely to extend that gap for Kim. We saw the riders getting second and third in those points too, building that buffer and also giving themselves more cards to play. If Kim gets sick or injured for whatever reason down the season, they've got other teammates in position with points to fight for that jersey all year long.
DNA really impressed tonight with a lot of aggressive riding. They also soaked up a few preems for their effort. So they will go home happy, having gotten not only some preems, holding on to an ACC sprint, but also taking the overall race win with their young one, Olivia Cummins.
Yeah, and Olivia Cummins has just been a really up-and-coming rider. Really developed a lot under that Lux development team with Roy Nicky down in Southern California. It's really, disappointing to see a program like that, kind of fall by the wayside because we see the talent that's come out of it.
All right. Now we're doing our women's highlights here this evening. Starting off well with a lot of good formations. Great to have these HG drone shots. Yorali Salazar from Mexico was doing very proactive at the front. Leah Kirchman also active. Taylor Cook White from Miami Knights always present at the front. The DNA with those pink jerseys always very aggressive, protecting that green jersey of Kimberly Lucy. We saw the rider number one, Skylar Schneider, the defending champion, sacrificing herself for her team, but it was DNA that ended up coming out on top tonight. Great team racing, soaking up ACC points. Legion of Los Angeles tonight, they rode well, they rode smart, they rode where they could, but it ended up being all for naught, as we saw that being usurped by Olivia Cummins in the end. Nice finishing kick here as Kendall came across the line first. Olivia Cummins, your champion. Now in our podium tonight for our pro men, Oh, it's Justin Williams taking the fat tire beer home. Looks like Dusan Kalaba in second and Danny Summerhill in third.
Yeah, it's going to be, I'm pulled for Danny. We've been teammates. I've known him. We've been on the same development teams growing up. And he's just been so close this year. It's painful to watch as like a friend to him. But he's got 2 days to kind of crack the code. And I think once he does, we're going to see a really interesting part of the year. But, we got to see him get set up. Hopefully the races can, like Noah said, start getting harder.
Men's highlights for tonight, a great set of racing. Legion of Los Angeles riding at the front the entire time. A number of teams tried to challenge, including the pink helmets of Miami Blazers, where they came to the front for a number of laps, but Legion never backing down. Michael Hernandez, the elite amateur national champion, also trying to challenge. Number of teams like Denver Disruptors also trying to challenge, but Legion never gave up the chase. They were always organized, always disciplined, and kept themselves there. This crash, with just a few laps to go, caught up a number of notable riders, including Chris Tolley, who we talked to just earlier. But Legion reorganized, but it was the prowess of Justin Williams that kept him up into the mix. We thought that his game was over, but Justin showed us that he is the king of crits, he is the champion, and he surfed his way first across the finish line to take night one of Tulsa Tough.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Going into tomorrow, we saw Corey fade. That was unexpected for me. Normally he's just tight on that train, and he never really falters night one. Now we're going to see Justin carry this jersey into night two. Maybe Corey just had bad legs tonight. It happens. See how he recovers for tomorrow. It's a different course. It's difficult. And then, Crybaby Hill can really shake up everything. A guy that's in 10th now can win solo, and some of these guys in our top 5 fade. So really a lot of racing to come. I'm really excited to see how it plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a whole lot of great bike racing to come. That's why we do it every single night. You never really know what's going to happen. We can talk all we want about, assuming different things are going to occur. But as it sits, that's why we pin on our numbers and we line up every single night. Yep. ACC standings coming up here next, we're being told. We're going to run some ACC podiums here for our men's standings overall. Great to see them coming up. Looks like we have Alfredo Rodriguez in second and Clever Martinez in third. And Danny Summerhill retains his overall.
Yeah, Danny's been in this familiar position, quite often wearing a jersey, developing tactics around that to kind of maintain that throughout a series. So it can be frustrating to wear a jersey and never win a race. There's a lot of us who've been there. It's great to get that jersey, but to never, actually cross the line first can be frustrating. So he's going to want to do it.
Absolutely, but we're going to celebrate his success here. He is wearing the leader's jersey. He's smiling big. He was on the podium here tonight, and he's up there with some great guys, Alfredo Rodriguez and Clever Martinez. So they're going to have a great time here at the after party this evening, I'm sure. And then we're going to also represent our ACC Sprint podiums here. We're going to wrap up the evening with our ACC Sprints and our podiums, but this has been the Friday night Blue Dome racing with the St. Francis Tulsa Tough. It's been a great night of racing overall. I've been Gabe Lloyd. I've been joined by Daniel Holloway. It's been a great evening overall. Thank you so much. Do tune in tomorrow night for the continuation of Tulsa Tough with the Arts Quest, and then we'll wrap up on Sunday with Crybaby Hill. Oh, and we got more podiums coming. How exciting. The party continues on.
Are you ready for a Red Bull?
I'm so ready for a Red Bull.
After we're off the clock, enjoy some Tito's. Fine beverage of choice here at Tulsa Tough is taking care of everybody, really giving everybody a good experience. So
yeah, Tito's.
We got to get you in the Tulsa Tough spirit of post-race activity.
That's right. This is my first Tulsa Tough, so I have to feel it through and through. Danny, not quite getting that zipper done, but it don't matter. He's representing both the leaders and the sprint jersey. My goodness. Dusan standing up there as well, so I guess he will be wearing the jersey as second place. We'll see how that goes.
Typically, that's how that works, right? Leader jersey takes precedent, and if you have both, the sprinter jersey is quote secondary, and that gets passed on to second place. So those jerseys are represented in the field for those sponsors that partake and make those things happen. So it would be really good to see both jerseys in action as we move forward in that series.
Absolutely. All right. So I believe that's the all of our podiums for the evening. We've done our race overall. We've done our overall. I'm Gabe Lloyd. This is Daniel Holloway. Thank you for tuning in. share it with your friends, and we'll see you tomorrow night for night number 2 of Tulsa Tough.